hoping to do. I just don't have a lot to share.
All right. Let's see. Making sure everything looks good.
Oh, we're already live. Look at you.
Wah, wah, wah. I'm waiting for YouTube to catch up. There's like a 30.
There's always a delay between
I'm waiting for
Share and YouTube. So if you just start talking, it'll hit YouTube.
Yeah, but I like to be able to hit the mute button because I like to have a YouTube version of the stream open so that I can kind of monitor on and off.
Do you want a tip?
All right, what?
You open it up in Chrome and then you go up to the tab and you mute the site. Right click the tab, mute site. I do it every single time.
That's a trip.
See?
I forgot about that. You learn something new every day. Hey. Holla.
You want to do your intro now that we're a minute into being live?
Exactly. that tends to happen a lot on my channel.
Yeah, I'm noticing.
It's a trend.
We'll help you lock it down.
It's my trademark.
Oh, is your trademark just randomly hitting the live button?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see if that worked. I hope that link works in the YouTube side.
It does not. That's okay. I got it. Hold on.
All right. You should actually. You should be a mod, so you should be able to post straight through.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I said I got it. Just give me 1 second to.
While you're doing that, welcome to WyzGyz Entertainment.
Right.
This is your host Wyman. We've got an awesome guest today, Shae. We're going to cover some fascinating topics such as merchandising, but we're also going to touch on what it's like growing a channel.
Yeah. It's fun.
Some ins and outs and the road down that path. Yeah, it seems apparently it's clipping my URL even though it was working fine earlier.
That's okay.
All right. So welcome, Shae. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And welcome to everyone in chat. Please post any questions you have in chat so we can get them answered. Because Shae's the pro.
I'm the pro that doesn't have any projects out there, and yet I know a fuck ton about how to manage your projects.
There you go. That's why you're here.
See, I help behind the scenes on most projects, but I don't run any of them myself yet. Yet.
Only a few more moments.
No, we'll see. We'll see. We're getting there.
Yeah.
A couple things I'm working on, a couple things I want to do. Just don't have enough content or enough things hammered out for me to do them yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was so on Twitter. I was looking at this one link that your buddy and co-host Cyborg Valkyrie shared.
Yep.
And the screenshot had your channel at 500 subs.
Yeah, that was a while back.
Well, I had
I believe 500 subs is back in January.
Yeah, you got it.
Yep.
Where the heck was it? Let me do it this way.
Oh, WyzGyz so cute when he boomers.
What the? Oh, I subbed to your Shae the Red channel, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Where you eat weird.
My apologies to all. How many subs do I have on there? I got like
54.
54. I'm sorry for all 54 of you.
I like this fun stuff because I've got a segment on my channel called Grubbing on the One. And it's where I eat weird stuff too. Like, are you into like noodles, ramen noodles, things like that?
Yeah. I do what I call a Gucci bargain ramen.
Oh,
Where basically I take top ramen,
all
which
right.
is the cheapest shit in the face of the planet.
Huh?
And then I'll fry up some spam and
Oh,
maybe slice up a hard boiled egg and some scallions and just put that all on top. And then I was like, it's Gucci, super cheap ramen.
oh, yum. Yeah, because there's these things. I don't know if you eat Korean food, but it's like is it Korean or Vietnamese? But there are places that are hot pot restaurants where you collect all the food that's like frozen or refrigerated meats and vegetables, and then you go to your table and then you essentially cook it yourself. And
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. You throw it
yeah,
on like the stone and
yeah, or a little grill in the middle of the table,
yep.
and then there's often like a pot of hot water so that you
Yeah.
make a soup. Uh, but they've got like a portable type of hot pot, and you can pick it up in grocery stores. And oh, you know what? Hold on. I know this is off topic, but hold on.
Oh, that's fine. It's your show, man. Be
What
as off topic as you want.
you'll find that my channel is very much off topic. I'm like
Loose themes.
I'm on multiple tangents at any given time. Uh,
Fair.
excuse me. So let me see here. What the heck? Oh, you know what? Let me just do this. So they've got these instant hot pots, and it comes with this pouch, which is your heating element, and you fill the bottom tray with water, and then the other is like a steamer tray. And then in the bottom, you insert this pouch that sort of looks like one of those silica packets in packages that absorbs moisture, and except it's intended to take the water, absorb it, and turn it into like a heater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar to MREs.
Mm. Yeah. So here's the latest one I'm going to open in my next Grubbing on the One.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's really.
I always go and buy Korean food and then I'm terrified because I was like, I don't speak Korean and I don't know what Korean looks like for the word spicier than hell. And so I was looking at it and I was like, how many chilies does this one have on it? Because if I start seeing a lot of chilies in the background, I'm putting it back because I know Korean spice, that ain't the same as like American spice. Korean spice is like you will not have insides. We will burn them all asunder. And I'm not that good at spice. I can't handle that.
I like hot, spicy stuff, but there's a certain level that I can handle as well. I don't think I've ever tried ghost pepper, but I'd like to sometime. Excuse me. But there's a
cannot pay me enough.
There's like a threshold whereby things start losing flavor, and it's more about shocking your system and just bringing the heat, which makes no sense to me. I think it's pointless.
I don't do that. I don't appreciate the let's just be hot to be hot. Like that doesn't. If you're gonna give me spice, it's got to have some flavor and some purpose behind it. It can't just be like burn my insides to bits.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Pale Rider. So should we talk? Let's briefly talk about a couple of the projects. So like I said, I don't have a ton to share on them, but no, the two that I'm currently thinking about will not sadly have ass titty. but there is another one in the works that could. There's the potential for some ass titty in that one. But the two that I'm focused on right now, anyway, one of them is it's a story that I'm doing called Fade, and it is not a feel good story. I think it's an important thing for people to be able to read and to understand. But basically, you're going to be following a 9-year-old girl who is suffering from depression and suicidal ideation, and we're going to find kind of creative ways to show what that's like for somebody who's going through it, and to try and there is a purpose behind it. So the purpose behind me doing something like that is that I want to have people who are going through depression be able to relate to kind of the stuff that the girl is going through, and to know that they aren't alone, because that's the feeling of being alone when it comes to mental health issues is what keeps a lot of people from ever going and getting help, because they feel like they're broken and they just need to be stronger. And if they were stronger, then they wouldn't feel this way. And so being able to say, hey, you're not alone. This isn't because you're weak. Like this is because there's something chemically fucked up in your head. And without you trying to get help and reaching out actively, you're going to struggle. And that's simply, it's a chemical imbalance. If you look at it in that term, it's not that you're crazy. It's your body just has the wrong shit floating around inside of it at that time. So it's to try and help those people to feel like they're not alone. So maybe people will go and get help when they need it. There's also for people who have somebody that's going through depression and they don't understand what it's like, to try and give them a more visual representation of this is what it can feel like for somebody, to try and break down those barriers so people can maybe understand each other a little bit better. So that's the first book. The second book, there won't be ass or titty in, simply because it's a dark horror anthology. So if there is any ass or titty, it's probably going to turn out like Slanesh, and I don't think people are looking for those kinds of ass and titty. I feel like that's what's going to turn everyone off from it. But yeah, it's a collection of short stories and poems that are all kind of dark and morbid and from my fucked up brain and horrible nightmares.
All right, so so the second project is based on your dreams and nightmares, and it's going to be real dark and morbid. And the first project, I was curious, exploring depression. Is that something that you encountered over your life with friends or family, or maybe was it associated with, let's see, I think you made it clear that you're in our active military.
Yes.
So thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have like direct interaction with a lot of people who had PTSD and things like that? Is that like along the same as depression?
So I'm an extreme empath. I'm somebody that people feel like they can go and talk to when they're having a hard time, for whatever reason. And I'm talking like people that I've never talked to before. I said something offhanded to a dude in a grocery store line once, and he flipped around and said, yeah, well, I'm pretty sure my wife is going to leave me, so I don't know how much it matters. And I was like, you obviously need to talk. And so I hung out and I talked with him for probably about 15-20 minutes. And by the end of it, he said that he had felt a lot better, and that he was having a really hard time like then. And I have no idea what happened. I don't know if he and his wife patched things up. I don't know. But I guess I have that kind of persona where I can be around somebody and say hello, and they can be like, oh, there's somebody who's going to listen. And they just, here's all of the shit I'm dealing with. Please help me.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I take on a lot of other people's problems, and being an empath, I feel what a lot of people are going through. And it got to be too much. So I actually started in the military. I started initiative. It's a grassroots initiative because programs require a lot of oversight and AFIs and really frustrating things that kind of degrade what this is supposed to be. But it's basically like a support group. It's people who've gone through things. So whether it's money issues, difficulty with school, family that doesn't understand what military life is like, family that like children that don't understand the constant moves and things like that, all the way down to people who've been sexually assaulted, suicidal ideation, alcoholism, drug abuse, um, really anything that you go through as a human that is difficult to deal with. And we take people who are going through it for the first time and we pair them with somebody who has been there and who's come out on the other side and managed to kind of get their life back on track and not let this moment be the defining moment of the rest of their life. And so as a result, I know people who have I know people who serve who are bipolar. I know people who have PTSD both from combat and non-combat. I know a lot of people who have been sexually assaulted, drug use, alcoholism, anger issues, gambling problems, you name it. I have somebody in my group who deals with that. And then the depression, the reason that I wanted to do this one first is depression is the one thing that I was always blessed with never feeling until about a year and a half ago. And then it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was a lot harder, like with somebody who is kind of trained on resiliency, who focuses so much on being resilient. You like to think that when something like that's going to hit, you're going to be fine. You're going to know exactly what it is that you need to do. I was not prepared at all for how this was going to end up hitting me and affecting me. And it was really, really, really hard for me to recognize that it was depression for a long time. And it was really hard for me to figure out how exactly you overcome that. And I started to realize when I've talked to people before who are talking about depression, one of the main things that you hear and something that I had a lot of people tell me is they're like, focus on all of the happy around you. And when you're depressed, you're like, I don't see any happy. There's nothing happy here. Like everything sucks. And I didn't understand that. And so when I got hit with it on my own, it was kind of like, okay, this does suck. And I understand a little bit better. But I don't have depression that is so crippling, but it's at least decent. It's kept me in bed a couple of days. It's kept me from streams. I disappeared from my channel for like a week straight, just because I just couldn't bring myself to get up to do anything. And I ended up only doing the Writing Pros show, and then I had everything else canceled because I was like, I just can't. And I feel like it gave me a unique perspective. So instead of sitting and kind of wallowing in it and letting it try and dominate my life, I wanted to take those moments of feeling it and try and turn it into storytelling. So hopefully I can help other people who were like me before and didn't quite understand it, get a better perspective as to what it actually feels like. And so that's why the person in the story is a 9-year-old girl, because no one's going to tell a 9-year-old girl who is suicidal that it's just because she can't be happy and she just needs to, like, if you were to say that to a small child who is actually suffering from this, just shut up, you need to be happier, you're not a great person. Like a 9-year-old is a pretty innocent being. And so I think that a lot of people could universally agree no 9-year-old should be feeling these kinds of things. And so she was a safe bet to use to tell that story, because it opens those doors. If it was a 30-year-old male, a lot of people would say, well, it's because he doesn't want to get better. And that isn't always the case. Sometimes it is. Sometimes people just don't want to motivate themselves to do better. But a lot of times it's that they don't know what to do.
What was, oh, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Oh, when it hit you, did it like coincide with when you started your organization and started becoming exposed to all these various walks of life, people with depression, PTSD, and stuff like that? And then
No, not at all. So I've always been exposed to all of these. Me starting this initiative was kind of a way of me collecting people that are like me, and so I didn't have to take on everybody's. So when somebody would come to me and say, "I'm really struggling with this," I'd be like, "Oh, I actually don't have experience with that, but I've got 3 people over here who do, and so let me put you in contact with them." And then they would talk, and I was like, "Oh, good. It doesn't all have to begin and end with me. I don't have to save the world."
yeah, that's impossible to do anyway. Is
Doesn't stop you from trying.
Oh yeah, for sure. If at any time you feel like sharing the contact information for that organization, definitely feel free to post in the chat. Um, would you view this project as being geared toward all ages or specific? Yes. All right.
It's going to be one of those things where I'm not shying away from what the feelings and emotions are. So there's going to be parents who are going to not be comfortable with their kids seeing it. But I actually talked with somebody who has a very small child, 6 years old, and she was saying that she noticed that her child has a very hard time expressing herself, gets very, very frustrated very easily, and she was like, I feel like these might be some issues that she's dealing with, like anxiety and depression and things like that, but she's really young, and so she lacks the communication skills to talk about it. And so she was really excited when I told her I was going to start doing, because it's not just going to be depression, it's an entire line, and none of these are going to have continuing stories. They're one shots, but they're going to cover depression, anxiety, PTSD, all of these kinds of things, to try and get voices out there for people who feel like they don't necessarily have them. So the whole series is called No Name, because that's what you feel like when you're going through this. Like you're a number, you're a statistic, you don't have a name. You don't matter as a person. So that's the series is called No Name. And then each of the books will have a subtitle specifically for that. But she got really excited because she said that she wanted to be able to make something that was a visual medium, show it to her daughter, and maybe give her a leg up in communicating when she was feeling a certain way. If she wanted to say, hey, this is, this is kind of how I'm feeling, and they're reading a book about anxiety, she can say, okay, so what parts of this story are you feeling? And so they can kind of have that discussion, and she can make sure that her daughter is learning healthy ways to cope from a young age, as opposed to most of us where we were pushing it under the rug, told to be quiet about it, told that, we really just needed to be stronger, or that nobody wanted to hear about our bullshit. And so we did that clear up until we became adults. And then as adults, we realized it hasn't gotten better. It hasn't gone away. It's still a problem. And I don't know how to deal with it.
That makes sense, for sure. Sounds like a really cool, thoughtful and important project. Definitely looking forward to that, because I've got members in my family that I think could benefit from a resource like that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I come from a long line of mental health issues. Unfortunately, I have 3 aunts that are schizophrenic in varying degrees. One of them is a paranoid schizophrenic who has done some of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. And I was dealing with her doing stuff like that when I was 13. So it was really, really hard to put the two together. You know what I mean? Like, and not internalize a lot of this. But yeah, I think it's important. It's something that I'm passionate about, and other people, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to hate it, and that's fine. It really isn't for everybody. But I think it's important, and if it only helps one person, then it helps, one person, and it's worth it for me. Even if I come out of pocket to print this shit, it would be worth it to me.
Yeah, it is definitely worthwhile and needed, especially in this day and age. There have been a lot of reports since this darn pandemic thing where people can only take so much. They're not used to being holed up, self-quarantining, and
Yeah.
it has actually led to a lot of depression and a lot of suicides.
Yes. And there's been a lot of domestic violence. There's been a lot of divorce. There's been a lot that is kind of crept up. And I think that I'm somebody that'll talk your ear off about positive mental health and like taking care of yourself and taking mental health days and stuff like that. Anyone who's ever talked to me, um, 1,000% knows that like if you hit me up in my DMs, I've had people I've never even talked to hit me up in my DMs at 3 a.m. when I was getting ready to like finally go to bed, who were legitimately ready to kill themselves, and I've stayed up despite working the next day, and I've talked people off of ledges, and I've gotten 30 minutes of sleep before going to do my shift because it's something that is important to me. And I feel like a lot of people don't have a voice. They don't have somebody that they can go talk to. And that really bothers me. So I've sacrificed my own comfort to try and help other people sometimes. I need to get better at that because sometimes I do it to detriment of myself, which isn't, you can't hold people up if the pillar that you've built to hold them up is made of sand. And so I've gotten to a point where I recognize that more and I understand like how I need to take care of myself in order to take care of other people.
Let's see here. Pale Rider sounds good with two frogs. Statistical Zeros gotta fly. Have a great streaming too. Have a good day, chat. Excuse me. Pale Rider's mental health regimen starts at noon with booze. And to anyone who's curious, that's applesauce she's eating.
Yeah. Yep. I'm having applesauce this morning. And I've been awake for an hour.
Yeah, so you're really the Flash. Now we know the secret identity behind the Flash, I see.
Yeah, an hour ago I was still in bed.
Yeah, as you know, I was up till like 4 something in the morning. So I didn't go to bed until shortly thereafter. And then I ended up waking at about 8:30. And then rather than go back to sleep, I did the silliest thing and went online.
Yeah.
And went back to Twitter and YouTube.
I tell you what, I have to assess how awake I am and if I have something I have to get up for right then or not. And then decide if I'm going to, if it's like, yes, I need to get up, then I'll look at Twitter. Because I know if I look at Twitter and I want to go back to sleep, it's not happening.
Right. I think I mentioned it to you, Shae. After that pickle challenge, that
was rough.
It was interesting. It felt like I had like a block of ice in my stomach from time to time, and like Mr. Freeze froze my stomach.
Yeah.
And then so there would be like a tightness, like a pain, momentarily, and then it would be relieved. Then it would happen again a little later, and then it would be relieved. And it just happened on and off like that the rest of the evening. And it probably took a day and a half for it to, alleviate and disappear. So that was weird.
Yeah, after we got off of stream, like I had plans. I was going to watch Frega on your channel, and then he was going to do a couple others. He's going to be on with Mike Bancroft, and I really wanted to see that. And instead, I slept until 1 a.m. Because I laid down because I was like, oh my gosh, my stomach. And so I was off and on out of sleep, and then I ended up getting up. I guess I didn't sleep till 1. I guess it was about 10, but we got done pretty early, so I slept for like 5 hours. And just laid in bed and was like, nope, I'm not moving. Like I feel like shit. I can't believe I did this. This is a horrible idea. And then I ended up going around and like working on. I had a couple of crazy dreams and worked on a little bit of really fucked up art, read some books, watched some really bad movies, went to
Oh
bed
my
at 6. It was bad. I was like, I'm not doing this again.
God.
Oh, who's Jem? This is hilarious. I can't believe I didn't know. Look, applesauce just sounded really good today. I have no idea why. Maybe there's something in the air for women to eat applesauce.
If I actually had some in stock, I probably would be eating it too.
I mean, I almost never have applesauce with me, so that's hilarious. That there's another girl eating applesauce on YouTube.
That is pretty funny
That's great.
on Jim's stream. Oh my
I don't
God.
know who Jem is.
I'm not familiar with Jim.
Pale, you're gonna have to tell us who Jem is, because now I'm curious. Sounds like my kind of girl.
The
Eating applesauce on stream. I'm down.
applesauce girls. A new segment.
Oh my God. Oh, that's terrible. You realize that kind of shit, you say that and then it happens. You know that, right? Like we jokingly were talking about Powerpuff Girls, and now I'm part of the Powerpuff Girls of CG. So like you speak it into existence.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Jumping back to when you were talking about, well, not trying to go deep serious again, but I did want to add real quick that about 30 years ago, when the internet was pretty young still,
Mm-hmm.
I actually, I would be in like Yahoo Chat Messenger and things like that. And I actually came across a girl, I think she was like 18 or something. And we were talking and she sounded kind of depressed and, just the way she was phrasing.
Mm-hmm.
So I inquired, I don't know if I really have the same kind of empathic trait that you do, or at least to your level. But at one point I came straight out in the conversation and inquired something to the effect, don't mean to be too personal, but you're not considering, doing something to hurt yourself, are you? And then she said, "Oh my God, how did you know?"
Yeah.
And yeah, I just try to chat. I try to, have her chat, keep her talking to try and reason and maybe consider calling like a suicide hotline, suicide prevention hotline. Eventually, the conversation ended and she stopped talking entirely. So I don't really know what the result was,
Mm-hmm.
but there was like this feeling of concern, almost a guilt, because you don't know if you screwed up and said the wrong thing that might have driven them to do something.
So, okay. See, you said a couple of things. Now I have to say stuff because I've gone through suicide intervention training, and it's called ASSIST. It's a nationally accredited training platform system type thing. So some of the big things that people don't realize, you talking to somebody about being suicidal is not going to make them suicidal if they weren't already. You talking to somebody about suicide, and if they are suicidal, is not going to somehow magically give them the idea and have them go and do it. So that feeling, that's a feeling that people get to try and make sense of a situation that otherwise doesn't make sense, because you feel powerless, and so you want to feel like you have some kind of control over somebody else's actions, which you absolutely do not. So that's one of the first things that I have to put out there is if somebody seems like they're suicidal, asking, even if they decide later that they are going to go and kill themselves, you asking is not what made them kill themselves. That's not how that works. The other thing, and this is something that is really hard for a lot of people, you have to be careful how you word things when you're talking to somebody who's suicidal. And what I mean by that is a lot of people don't want to say the word suicide because we've been stigmatized that that word is a bad word and that's going to make people do crazy things and put it in their head. You're not, none of that's true. They've done research. None of that has ever come across as even remotely true. Um, Saying, do you plan to hurt yourself is tricky because a lot of people who are suicidal view suicide not as something like living is what hurts, right? And so no longer living would alleviate pain. So asking if they're going to hurt themselves a lot of time for them is like, no, actually not at all. Like it's going to make things better. And it's because their viewpoint of the world has changed. So when you're talking suicide intervention, one of the things that they tell you to do is ask flat out, like, are you planning on killing yourself? Do you have a plan to kill yourself? Um, and a lot of people are really, really squeamish about it. I have become numb to asking the question because anytime somebody made a joke in my presence of like, yeah, I just want to die. Like, I'm so fucking done. I just want to die. The next words out of my mouth were, do you have a plan to kill yourself? And like it got to the point where people were laughing and they were like, no, I'm not gonna kill myself, thanks, Shae. Like, and I was like, roll your eyes all you want at me, but at least you'll still be alive to do so. So those are just two things based on, if you ever are helping somebody who's suicidal, don't be afraid to just be blunt and ask outright, because beating around the bush is what can keep people from feeling like you actually are understanding and can help them hide when they have those kinds of feelings. And usually people who are suicidal, it's not like they have this great big plan. Like we seem to think that suicide is, I've been this way for weeks and months and years and I've planned out exactly how it's going to happen. Usually people that commit suicide, it's a moment of opportunity. So they hit a moment where things just feel like it's too much. They feel like nobody understands. And they have that brief window where they can go and do it. Like I had my mentor, love the guy, but my mentor literally, he's the reason I got suicide intervention trained. He's the reason, like, we used to have closed door conversations all the time. He'd come in and just be like, hey, Shae, I need to talk. And I was like, yep. And he'd shut the door and we'd sit there and have venting sessions where we talked about everything. This guy was the epitome of mental health. He convinced me to go back and talk to a therapist for a while when I was having a hard time. And what ended up happening is this person who was such a huge advocate, who went to behavioral health all the time, who was assist trained and had been for years, he ended up putting a gun in his mouth and pulling the trigger.
Oh man!
And he did that with his children home. His daughter was actually on the phone with 911 trying to get him to stop.
Oh dear.
But it wasn't that I've been wanting to kill myself for years and years and years. People like to say that because, well, he was troubled. He had stress, he had anxiety, he had depression. Well, right, but he wasn't, like, this moment of suicide wasn't tied to all of that. It was, I don't feel like I can keep doing this.
Man.
And so, and there wasn't somebody there that could get through to him before he could pull that trigger. It was a moment of opportunity. And it's like, because of that, that's why I don't have my mentor, my friend anymore. Because there wasn't an opportunity to break through to him when he was at that low point. And exactly what Buddy Lord says, it forces people to realize, when you say, are you planning on killing yourself? It makes it real. Because when we talk about hurting yourself, they can justify that away. When you talk about, are you really, really sad? And they're like, no, I'm happy because now I have a plan to get away from the sad that I've been feeling. All of these things that you do to try and sugarcoat it because you feel like saying suicide or kill yourself they're bad words. They're important words. They're words that need to be put out there, because when you say them, people realize the severity, the exact severity of what it is that you're saying. And Paul Ryder, yeah, some people just get tired of living, but usually those moments are fleeting. You're tired of living in that moment. You're tired of living right now. Right now, it's too much. Right now, it sucks.
Right,
but
exactly.
Being able to say, hey, like, I understand. I know it sucks, and you're not alone, and I'm not going to let you just sit here and wallow in your own thing. Like I'm here with you. Let's talk this out. I'm not going to leave your side. Like I'm gonna sit right here with you until you tell me all of the shit that you are feeling and thinking, and we work through that together. And that can be the difference between somebody feeling like nobody's there and maybe they can go on.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Sorry, I got real heavy. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It's
very passionate.
It's an important subject. Buddy Lord says if they rationalize it within their heads, they diminish the significance and effect of it.
Yep.
But saying what it is bluntly and in plain language and with the right tone makes us face it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is I've dealt with a lot of people who are suicidal, and they're just like, the world would be better off if I wasn't here. And I was like, how? Explain to me how the world would be better off if you decided to kill yourself. See, if I wasn't here is another way to make it sound less severe.
Right.
And so I would come back and say, explain to me how you killing yourself is going to make anything better. And they'd be like, well, because I'm just a burden. I don't feel that you're a burden. How is you killing yourself going to make things better for me? Because a lot of the time they divorce it from themselves, and they say that, well, I don't matter because I have no value in myself. But if I were to kill myself, you would be happier and things would be better. And then I have to turn around and say, okay, well, I need you to show me how, because what I'm seeing is if you kill yourself, now I have a friend that I used to talk to who is gone forever. If you do it right now, I'm going to be the one that's here that is going to try and stop and not succeed. So I've got that guilt that's going to follow me. Like, how is this better for me? And then when they have a hard time rationalizing that stuff back to you, it turns into, well, you're just making it a hassle. You're like, yes, it is. You killing yourself is a huge hassle to everyone. Like, there's no reason to.
Yeah. They use that rationalization because they don't value themselves, and they also they feel like, oh, nobody loves me. I'm not where I should be, and but then they're not factoring in the part about, if you go, then think about all the family and friends and those you've connected with are going to lose a piece of their heart.
Yeah.
For many years to come. Because when someone passes away that you care deeply about or care about, you're not mourning just for a month, 2 months, a year. Right. You're mourning literally the rest of your life.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I don't know why this happens every year. So we're coming up on the anniversary of when my mentor shot himself, and I'm just now realizing it because somehow every year, right around June, July timeframe, I end up in this situation where I'm like, hi, this is a topic that just randomly seems to appear and that I end up getting very passionate about. And I swear it's almost like a sign, like this is a moment to really kind of talk about it, which is unfortunate because he has a deaf wife and 3 hearing daughters. And so when all of that shit happened, it was, I want to talk to his wife and make sure she's okay, but I don't know enough sign language, and I'm not going to have her daughters interpret this conversation because they are more traumatized because they were there when it happened. She's deaf. She couldn't hear it. So she was elsewhere when it happened. And it's one of those situations that just kind of, it keeps coming back around. So I end up talking about it around this time of year every year.
Wow.
It's a very bizarre anniversary ritual, I guess.
Oh, that might be something to explore in your book.
Mm-hmm.
Buddy Lord says they use a rationalization because it's an irrational state of being.
Yep.
When you begin to slip into that state of being, you begin to convince yourself of lies.
Yep.
It's almost a psychosis in itself.
It is. It's that, when they say, if you, like, they say that when you repeat things like, I'm a piece of shit, and you say
Oh,
it to yourself over and over and over and over again, after a while, you start to believe that you're a piece of shit, because that's what you keep hearing and that's what you keep enforcing, and you're changing your brain to only ever think that. So when you're having these irrational thoughts of, everything would be easier if I just killed myself, they search for ways, like their depression. And I almost think of a lot of mental illness almost as if it's a separate entity, like it's a giant bully that follows you around and constantly shows you the worst parts of yourself. And so the good parts that naturally you want to try and see, they get quieter and quieter because the bully is so loud.
yeah,
And so it's like this giant ogre that just follows you around. And anytime somebody's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" They'd be like, they don't really give a shit, because you don't actually matter. And you start to believe these kinds of things, and you start to believe that if you were gone, things would just be easier. And you look at this very, very narrow path of, if I was gone, then people wouldn't have to talk me off of ledges constantly. So that would make their lives easier, right? You don't look at what the aftermath of you being gone, especially under those circumstances, would do for those same people. And so you just constantly are saying these things to yourself until eventually it becomes fact, because you've heard it so much. It's the same bullshit that media does
yeah.
right now, where they say, "Oh, we've said it on 30 different news channels, therefore it must be true." It's not that it's true, it's just that you repeated it a lot, and so now people think that it's true, but that
Mhm.
doesn't make it true. You can repeat a lie 1,000 times, it's still a lie,
Yeah, for sure.
but it's your reality, it's your perception that you're fucking with.
Absolutely. Death Metal Hero, welcome, says you must be careful of the words you say to yourself. You're having a conversation with the universe.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
It's said that the power of positivity is so powerful. It's very, very strong. And
Yeah.
the human brain is such an amazing organ because it controls the whole body, and
Mm-hmm.
it also it whatever is in your brain influences the overall health of the
Yeah.
body. So there are a lot of stories, and I tend to believe in this kind of stuff, whereby through hope and prayer and prayer circles, people who are suffering from major ailments in the hospital, they keep at it and think nothing but positive stuff and know I'm going to get through this somehow. I think it it convinces the body that, yeah, there's still other things we can do to fix the ailment, and that's why we get all these miracle recoveries. Um, and there are a lot of like psychological books and audio tapes and things like that where they use that technique to reinforce positivity. I remember there was a box set of audio cassettes where it was having you repeat to yourself, several times, or listen to the audio tape as you're nodding off to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
That says something to the effect, uh, day by day, in every way, I am the best person I can be. And I will remain positive and,
Yeah.
not let the negativity that may surround me or that I might encounter bring me down.
Yep.
And it's like repeating it over and over and over.
Well, and there's been plenty of times where people have prayed and people have maintained positive outlooks on things and have done way better than what medical science said that they should do. And I think that there's a lot to be said about that when you start thinking about your mental state and what you allow in your head. That's why it's so important when you're talking to various people that you might talk to on a daily basis, it's really important to pay attention to the relationships that you nurture and that you feed, and the relationships that you let die. If all you're ever doing, this is one of the big reasons why myself and my co-host, both of us on Red Valkyrie, we don't do this drama bullshit. It doesn't come on our channel. I will never do. I could get monetized if I sat down and all I did was clickbait and talk about all of the bullshit that's going on around CG and around indie comics and around people on the internet. I could absolutely get monetized, but I don't surround myself with those kinds of people, because it doesn't do anything positive. So the things that you nurture, if all you're ever doing is constantly nurturing and paying attention to these people that are trying to tear you down or that are causing you a lot of drama, and all you do is focus on that, you're letting the people that can infinitely make your life better, that are positive influences that help you to grow as a person, you're letting that relationship die while you sit and feed over and over and over again this toxic one that is going to drive you to a brink. And then you're not going to, when you finally get sick of this one, you decide I'm done. I'm uprooting it. I'm never going here again. You've lost your support that you could fall back on. And so I really try to pay attention to that, because it's people who are genuine, who are there for you. They're only going to be there for so long. After a while of constantly being batted away and told that you're not as important as all of this drama that I would rather pay attention to, eventually they're going to go somewhere else, because nobody likes to feel like they don't matter.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
That's something that's been really important, especially recently for me, because I've had a lot of people who've tried to drag me into a lot of drama and a lot of bullshit. And I kind of look at it and go, is this where I want to spend my time? Or do I want to go and do my shit on Red Valkyrie and help bring indie comics up and help talk about writing and help make people better in their creative pursuits? Like, okay, so I'm not going to do this. I'm going to come over here and do that. Like, you guys do this all you want, talk all the shit, whatever you want to say. There's people that talk shit about me in back channels and stuff. That's cool. Whatever makes you happy. I don't really care, because I'm not going to waste my time focusing on your negativity. I'm going to take my water, my feed, and everything, and I'm going to help grow this garden over here that is better, that is positive, that makes me happy, as opposed to focusing on all of the negative.
It's kind of like this saying where that kind of makes you think. It's like, who did you give your power to?
Yes, precisely. I don't like to give power over me to people that abuse that.
Right.
If there's going to be anybody who's going to have any kind of power over me and how I think and feel, it's going to be people that are genuinely good people, that I think are going to respect the importance of something like that, as opposed to the people who just want to tear you down. Because what's the point?
Right, exactly. What is the point? Death Metal Hero says, you must be careful of the words you say to yourself. You're having a conversation with the universe. A lie repeated often enough is believed as fact. Yeah, just like what Shae was saying with regards to the mass media.
Yep.
They're pushing an agenda, a narrative. That's one of the foundations of communism.
Yeah.
Death Metal Hero says daily affirmations can help. Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of daily affirmations, so I've been involved with an organization on and off that encourages daily affirmations.
Yeah.
So they talk about making goals, and not only an ethereal idea about making goals, actually making goals, putting it down to paper, posting it on your wall. And sometimes what makes it hit home to people is, let's say your goal is to get a new car. Find a magazine or print off a picture from the internet of a car that you could envision yourself getting. And stick that on the on your sheet, your goals sheet.
Dream boards.
Yep, exactly. Dream boards.
Yep.
And let's say you want a new house, get a picture of a house, stick it on there. So you've got the written word, you've got the image, and it helps you visualize it. So you
That helps you stay focused. That's another big thing. It's not putting something up on a dream board and then putting your dream board in the closet isn't going to do anything for you. But if you have a dream board and you have it sitting up on your wall and you have stuff on there that you want to attain, anytime you walk past it, even if you don't spend time dwelling on it, anytime you walk past it, anytime you look at it, you're reinforcing it in your head that is what your goal is. So let's say that it's, I want to buy this really nice, expensive car. The next time that you're out and you're looking at a frivolous thing that you could spend money on, in the back of your mind, you have, if I spend money on that, it keeps me away from my car. So things that you might have otherwise thrown money at because it's there and it's an instant endorphin rush and it makes you feel good right then. They become far less appealing because you understand that this is what it is that I'm trying to do. And none of this has to be a conscious thought. This is what you're reinforcing in your subconscious, because every time you walk past that board, if you did just buy some little trinket, you go, well, I bought this and now that's farther away. Like you make those rationalizations. So dream boards work if you put them in a place where it is really visual and it's a place that you walk past frequently, because it reinforces the positive thing every time you walk past it. That's why when you have a lot of girls, when they're having a hard time, they put it like positive notes and everything around their mirror. So when they're getting ready in the morning, it'll say things like, you're as beautiful on the outside as on the inside, or you are strong, you can do this. I have a thing that's next to my bed, and it says, you are strong, brave, capable, and ready. And it sounds so hokey, but it helps so much, because when I see it, do you know how many times I've been sitting in my bed crying and feeling like I just can't handle it? And then I'll look up and it says, you are capable, you are ready. I see those two things up there and I go, I could do this. I was like, this sucks. Right now sucks. But I am stronger than what I feel right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's right there in my face and I see it every fucking day.
Yeah.
And that's why it's where it is because I will see it every day, and I will see it when I'm at my lowest points. And it will remind me that this is a temporary state of being that will eventually pass.
Yeah, there are these cool things, you've probably seen them. Like you can get them at places like Hobby Lobby and Michael's.
Yeah, that's where I got this one.
All right, yeah.
I got this sign at Michael's.
Yeah, you get these cool little sayings, and they're literally affirmation kinds of things.
They are. Well, and it's little things like that there's times that I'll be walking around and I'll see something like that and it'll just hit me. It'll just speak to me. I bought one probably years ago, and it was talking about what a friend is, and it's because I have a hard time. I grew up without a lot of friends, and so growing up without a lot of friends, I let a lot of people into my life that were really, really terrible to me. That were abusive and toxic and whatever, because I wanted someone to talk to. I wanted to feel like I had somebody. So I hung out with people that I should have never given the time of day to. And I ended up finding a little sign that said, a friend is somebody who knows all about you and loves you just the same. And the reason that that's important to me is because I've had so many friends, quote unquote, in the past who they were my friends as long as I was in agreement with everything that they said and did. The second that I had a misstep or I had a small little stumble, they were like, yeah, you're just a bitch. And it was like,
oh my gosh,
I thought we were friends. Like, we've been talking for years. And all of a sudden I have like a small little stumble in life because I'm human. And now I'm just a horrible bitch that you can't stand. And you start talking shit about me to all of your other friends. And girls are just synonymous with this. We are some of the most toxic people to each other in the face of the planet, because this is what women do. Women are fine building each other up. I'm not going to say women. Girls are fine building each other up as long as you don't ever surpass whoever feels they are top. So you have girls that are fine being underneath like an alpha female, right?
Yeah.
Women are people who can build everyone up and be happy. And if you surpass me, that's fine. Especially because if you surpass me through honest, good, hard work and you have put more effort into it, then you know what? You deserve that. Good
Sure.
for you. That is amazing. If you surpass me because you were in the right place at the right time, wow, what a great opportunity that you got. If you surpass me by shit talking me, you're kind of a shitty person. But
Right.
I don't begrudge anybody else's success. I've only had a couple of people that have genuinely like irked me in the ways that they've made things that they've gotten to where they've been, but it's because they've done it in such a disingenuous way. And the name of the game with me is just be upfront, be who you are. Like
Yeah.
if you're not a genuine person, I have a really hard time having taking my time to be around you,
Hmm.
simply because it becomes an emotional sink. When you're an empath, you feel what other people are putting out, right? I'm really in tune to other people's feelings. And so when I'm around somebody who is toxic, I feel that. And it drains you. It's so difficult to pull away from because you just feel in everything they say and do, it just pulls at you and it makes you just like unmotivated, and you start to feel like the entire world is full of nothing but assholes, and it's really just this one person, but this one person has such a huge sphere of influence around them that you just feel it. And I that's when I retreat. Luke understands this. He's the same way. Luke and I, Death Metal Hero, the amount of times that we'll hit each other up at night and I'm like, dude, I had a fucking day. And it's like, all right, let's talk. And we just like, man, I was around this one person and this is all that they did and this is all that I kept hearing, and it was just constant. And they're like, oh yeah, no, I totally feel you, because we both feel that like emotional drain that certain people have on you.
Oh my
And they're
God.
always talking to people.
Yeah. One of my jobs is in retail,
Mm-hmm.
and
I'm sorry.
that,
Retail's rough.
it can be sometimes.
It
You
can
know,
be, yeah.
it was weird because it's like, most of my shift, everything was hunky dory. We were doing pretty well in sales,
Mm-hmm.
and we were on track to potentially meet goal for the day.
Yep.
And then we had this guest, and she did nothing but complain. She was very, very impatient,
Yep.
and she didn't. I guess the message that you know we're backed up and we don't have full capacity staff kind of fell on deaf ears, and it's like nothing you say or do will appease them, and they do nothing
Yeah.
but complain.
Yep.
And you can imagine that was extremely draining. And
Yes.
what's weird on top of that is like an experience like that can kind of sour the rest of the day.
Oh, absolutely.
You still feel the ramifications of that one guest, even
Yep.
if everything else is hunky dory.
Yep. And that's one thing that I mean, you can call it a martyr complex. I'm one of those people that if I used to do retail too. We did retail where we were competing against each other for commissions. So um, I like the people that were toxic in my world were my coworkers usually. But when I had like a new person who was trying to check somebody out and they're having a difficult time, and we'd get a customer that was irate like that, I would always be the one that bit the bullet and was like, okay, ma'am, yeah, I can help you instantly right over this way at the other end of the store at this other register. I'll go help you over there, to try and pull
Oh,
them
yeah.
away from my crew, because I was like, look, if you keep popping off, my whole crew is going to feel it for the rest of the day, and I can't stand that.
Yeah.
So if you want to bitch at me about how incompetent I am and how shitty this store is, and you spend thousands of dollars here, you're never coming back, and you'll be back next week because you literally come every week. If that's what you want to spend your time doing, that's fine. You can do it over here. You can yell at me. Because frankly, I've learned at a young age, the only time that words can hurt you is if you let them, if you give that person that kind of power over you.
Yep.
So if I don't care about you, your words mean nothing. You can call me whatever name you want. If I don't give you that power over me to have whatever words you say matter, you're just a person spewing whatever word comes to mind. It's equivalent to you saying, you're an apple banana pear. And it's like, okay, yep, sounds good. And, you know, and the actual words will be like stupid bitch hoe or something like that. And you're like I understand that I used to have a trigger when somebody would call me a bitch. That used to be my big trigger. That would be the thing that would just, I can't handle it. And then I learned over time that at the end of the day, it's just a word. You know, it's kind of like if you believe in Ouija. Ouija is just a board game. It's the intent behind the words that hurt, right? So somebody having the intention of saying something that hurts, that's what ends up hurting us. And as long as you give people that kind of power for their words to have meaning to you, that's when it hurts. And so I stopped giving power to people that I don't care about and that I don't respect. And I noticed that it becomes funny. I get called a lot of stuff and I laugh and then they get mad and then they double down and they try to call me worse things. And then I laugh more because then it gets funny. Like that's when they start stumbling on their words to throw new things out there because now they're pissed off that I'm not phased.
Yeah.
Which just makes it more fun, really. Like when you're dealing with trolls, you're dealing with shitty people. It makes it a lot more fun when they get really upset and they just start throwing whatever they can. And yes, buddy Lord, pen, pineapple, apple pen. Yes, that's exactly what I hear when people start spewing shit at me. I see Ryu like doing the dance.
I guess that's our cue to break out into song.
Yes. Oh gosh. Watch me randomly do that the next time somebody goes off on me. That'd be hilarious. I might get punched at that point, but that I feel like that would be deserved. That's a terrible song.
Pen, pineapple pen. Oh my gosh.
Pen.
Yeah.
Oh, we're terrible. Man, we have really gotten off topic. I feel really bad. I feel like we just hijacked your stream and talked for an hour about mental health.
It's freaking awesome. I mean,
it matters.
It's a serious subject, so it's got to be heard. So it's definitely, you know, a worthwhile thing to discuss.
Yeah.
Because so often it is brushed under the carpet and ignored.
Yeah. And I can't stand that. Like, I think a lot of us, especially nowadays, most of us seem to have grown up in kind of the world where you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. We don't talk about it. Like, it's, you know, I don't know. It's something that we just don't deal with. And I feel like that's caused a lot of problems, like moving forward. There's a lot of people who don't talk about this stuff because they feel like it's taboo. And so I'm the one that goes the other way and I say, well, fuck it. I'll talk about it incessantly. And everyone can hate what I say. And that's fine.
Let me see something here. All right. So, switching gears here.
Yeah. Woo!
So, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, or when we were still in the green room, your co-host shared a tweet where it had a screenshot of you at 500 subs.
Yes.
And that was in January of this year, I believe.
Yes. Yep. That was back in January.
And now you're at 866. Woohoo!
We work hard. It doesn't get this deep on my channel. Well, okay, that's not true. Writing prose tends to get a little bit deep sometimes. It also tends to go completely off the rails. And heaven forbid anybody mention Greek mythology, then I go to sleep and they talk about it for like an hour and a half. But yeah, so Red Valkyrie, we started back last November, and we tried to keep our channel very streamlined. So much like the chat room that Shae and I created on Twitter, we're drama free. So if people bring drama or try to bring drama to my channel, you'll find that you usually get blocked. It's about the only way to get blocked in my chat is to come in with the intent to try and start shit. But what we do is we highlight indie comic creators and their projects. And I usually try to do a cosplay or something like a closet play that's based off of somebody in their comic. And we talk about what their project is. We talk about their inspiration. We talk about how you can back them. And we open it up to questions. So we take questions from the audience. If you ever have any project that we're highlighting, if you have like a big question that you want to ask about it, you can ask it directly to the creators. That's one of our big hooks. We also have you're highlighting right there some of the specials. So we've had a couple of specials that were just kind of ridiculous. I don't really do them without Shae because it's weird when I don't have my co-host. So we did a holiday special. I got to be honest, I don't even remember what we did on that one. All I know is I'm pretty sure I had my elf hat on, and we kind of BS'd about various things going on in CG and various projects that we thought were really cool right before Christmas. We had the AMA of Shae that happened when I hit my first 1,000 on Twitter, and it was really, really awesome. And you know, ask me anything.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So went live and basically said whatever questions you have, bring them. Got a couple of interesting ones that we sidestepped a little bit because you can ask me. I didn't say it was answer everything. Right. I said ask me anything. Yeah. I will decide if I'm going to answer or not. And probably the more important one that we've done, we did a fundraising stream for John and Carla Tornelli. So they are a husband-wife comic creative duo that do the Grim Reaper. They are absolutely amazing, and they had a house fire. It burned all of their possessions. It destroyed Carla's drawing tablet. They lost all the project progress that she had made on Grim Reaper 2. Luckily, Grim Reaper 1 files had just been uploaded to the cloud right before that happened. So she was good there. But she lost a lot, and they lost their progress on their project. They lost their house. They lost all of their possessions. So we did a little stream where we got a bunch of creators together who are artists and brought them all on to basically draw for donations. So it was a way for you to get a really, really cheap commission because you throw $5 and you could have somebody like 6 a.m. Comics draw you a little commission. So what ended up happening, nobody commissioned any of the artists. People donated, but nobody commissioned any of the artists. Somehow I got commissioned to do hand turkeys because I joked that I'm not an artist, but I do a mean hand turkey. So 6 a.m. Comics was on, and he threw a couple bucks down and said, "Hey, Shae, I want a hand turkey." And I was like, you're joking, right? He says, "No, I want a hand turkey." And I was like, okay. And he goes, "I want a Nightcrawler hand turkey." And he shows me the wall behind him that is just full of Nightcrawler art. And I was like, okay, I can do this. So I drew a Nightcrawler hand turkey because I was requested to, and this is a fundraising stream. So damn it, I'm going to deliver, right?
Yeah.
So after I drew that, 6 a.m. was so happy with it that he tweeted it out to the Twitterverse. "Hey, anyone who donates to Carla, Shae's drawing hand turkeys for you." I ended up about 9 hand turkeys in, thanks to him, of just random shit. Like I think that's where Malin hand turkey came in. So he had a beanie and no eyebrows.
Wait, so did you make that for Malin?
No, I made, somebody requested that I do a Malin hand turkey. Malin did not request that I do a Malin hand turkey, but I posted it online and he did like it. So, but we did all kinds of crazy ones just for fun, and that's kind of where the hand turkeys were born. So if you've ever been around me, you see that occasionally on my Twitter, I have very detailed, very, very terrible hand turkeys that are literally, I put my hand down on a drawing pad and I actually trace my hand out every time. And then I turn it into a very, very detailed, very shittily drawn hand turkey. I recently had Dan Frega request, he requested one, so I did geisha because geisha's hot, so why wouldn't I do geisha? Yeah. And he was like, that's great. I would also like to see sniper. And I was like, okay. So I drew sniper and he goes, Shae, when are you sending these to me? I'm going to put them up on my wall. So I legitimately, for his birthday that recently came up, I printed out geisha and sniper, cut them out, made a really cool display in a floating frame, and sent it to him. And he's hanging it up on his wall. So when he's streaming, you'll see my really shitty hand turkeys in the background.
I saw that. I guess it was before you mailed it off.
Yeah.
It was cool. I liked it a lot.
I figured if he was going to do that, then I had to send him something that was worthwhile, because it's going to be on his wall. Like, I don't want it to just be a shitty hand turkey.
Did you laminate them and everything before you put them in the shadow box?
No. So I have a print quality printer in my house. So I printed them out on really nice luster paper, and then I put it in a floating frame. So it's 2 panes of glass.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they're in a floating frame, and I cut them out. So it's my hand, like, as a turkey. And I signed my name and cut that out, and I put our channel logo up there. So yeah, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely insane, but he loved it. He thanked me up and down, and he's gonna put it up on his wall. So, hey.
When these floating frames,
yes,
do you have to like apply tape or something to the back of whatever you're sticking on it, or is it physically sandwiched between the 2 pieces?
It's physically sandwiched between 2 panes of glass. So you can put a little bit of tape to keep it in place, but it's glass on both sides.
Okay, so it makes
so it's fully protected,
and it keeps it from getting out of place and falling.
Yeah, because there's like a little bar that goes around it that's kept in place with those little swivel bits on the back.
Right.
So there's a little bar that goes around the edge of it. Sometimes it's a little bit loose, so I always take it and put at least like 1 or 2 pieces of tape, just rolled over tape.
Yep.
On the back of the picture to keep it where it's supposed to be.
Cool.
Because I have instances where some things have over time have slipped because it's not a super, super tight hold.
Right.
And vibrations and stuff will make stuff shift sometimes. So
yeah, true.
They just look cool. It looks like a shadow box. Like, it's neat. It looks 3-dimensional. So I use it a lot.
Yeah. I actually, well, it's not a floating frame, but I got a shadow box. I don't, let's see. I don't know if you ever caught my video where I did like a room tour, but I've got this big, rather heavy shadow box frame that has my martial arts uniform and
very cool.
4 of my colored belts in it.
That's awesome.
So I think I like it a lot. Yep.
Yeah, they're really neat.
Yeah, framing stuff is cool.
Yeah, I like playing around with it and all of that.
Something I'd like
I'm a girl and I'm crafty.
Yeah, me too. Something I'd like to do more of, or do, period, is when you have like artwork and stuff, and you got that, you put in front of it a border with the beveled edge.
Yeah.
I'd like to do
Matting.
some stuff like, yeah, matting. There you go. You got it.
Yep.
Death
Thank
Metal.
you for stopping by, Luke. You're amazing.
Thanks so much, Death Metal Hero. Appreciate your being here. Thanks for
and one of the other things that I was going to talk about on the channel that I forgot. So if you go to playlists, we've got a new segment that we started 8 weeks ago, almost 9 weeks ago. I think today is episode 9, called Writing Prose. So Writing Prose is basically me and a panel of fellow writers, and we talk about various topics. So like today we're talking about influences. So I'm bringing on a bunch of people. They're going to talk about what influences them to write, where they find their various influences, how things have kind of impacted and changed over the years, and things of that nature. And we've done all kinds of stuff. We've done plot holes, editing, characterization, all kinds of stuff. So if you are a budding writer, that's a great channel or a great show to check out. It's every Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And I mean, we talk everything. Like it's
You're already on episode 8. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no. You're fine. So we've got this is episode 9 today. And we always highlight whoever we have on the panel. We always highlight whatever projects they have that are active, so you can go and check them out, especially if you like kind of what they're doing. And then we have, of course, like our Patreon or Super Chat and our merch link. And our merch store is about to change. I went with Teespring, and I'm not happy with the color print quality. It's a little bit gray and a little bit muddled, and I have some really badass art from some really badass people, so I want to make sure that it looks right.
Yeah, for sure.
We also have, there's only one video of it now because it takes time for me to edit them down, and I'm lazy and busy. So, but I started filming when I make some of these cosplays. So when I actually made this hat for God's Hand,
yeah,
I went through and filmed the process of making all aspects of it. Hand sculpting all the bones, hand sculpting the main piece, painting them up, and putting it on the hat. And then I go through doing my makeup, and I took all of it and I put it to rock music because that's what we do. We do rock music because it's badass. And I sped it up really, really fast. And that one still is a 20-minute video because that was like a 2-day process.
Was it challenging finding rock music that was royalty free?
So I actually have a subscription to this really cool site that lets you, as long as you have an active subscription, you can use any of their music. And if you post something up, like while you have the subscription, even if you don't have it after the fact, if you had it active during the time of posting, you won't get a copyright strike. So like my Writing Prose intro is music from there, and I really love it. But like, let's say that I stopped having the subscription, I would have to stop playing my Writing Prose intro because everything that I had beforehand would be fine. Everything afterwards, I'd get copyright strike. But there, I mean, it's really inexpensive, and it's definitely, I don't know, it's I think it's worth it. But I also like having badass music as opposed to the same like shit from YouTube Studio.
Yeah, I'm just now finally exploring YouTube Studio's audio collection, and
it's okay.
Nothing's really grabbed me yet. I found one or two that might barely be possibilities.
Yeah.
But nothing that really strikes a chord just yet. Buddy Lord says they went with TeePublic. Yeah.
Yep, I've heard a lot of good things about TeePublic.
They don't have as much merchandise, etc.
Yeah, it's really hard to find a place that has the merch that you want at the quality that you want. It's super tricky. And no, I was not listening to NSYNC, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
How dare you, sir? It's an NSYNC since I, that's not true. I was going to say since I hit puberty, but that's not true at all.
Well beyond puberty.
Yeah. Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit.
You were probably into 98 Degrees or NKOTB.
Yeah. I went the gambit of boy bands because that's what I thought I was supposed to listen to. So that's what I listened to. And then I got older and I was like, fuck this shit. And I started listening to metal. I was like I liked a lot of punk bands. But I was like a wannabe skater girl. Like I like the aesthetic, but I can't stand on a skateboard. So so it didn't really work out too well. And skater punks really like to call out posers. So I just didn't like, I used to hang out at the skate park, but I didn't talk to anyone because I was too afraid of being called a poser or having them be like, hey, let's see what you got. And be like, nothing. I got absolutely nothing. Like I can't do this. I can't do a half pipe. I can't even stand on a skateboard on like a level surface. Like I just weight distribution, like it doesn't work in my head. I don't understand it. Every single time I've tried, the skateboard goes one way, I go the other way. So I stopped trying.
When you went to the skate park, do you bring a board with you?
Oh no, I never owned one because I knew I couldn't stand on one. So
okay, all right.
I just went to the skate park with like Janko jeans and like skate shoes and like a tight little tank top and was like, I'm one of you. And they'd be like, no, you're not. I'd be like, I know.
Oh man. That's too bad.
I want to be one of you, but I suck.
Well, everyone's got to start somewhere, right?
That's what they said. And like, they were like, you can do it. And I was like, I really can't. Like, I don't know if you understand. I'm 6'1", and I'm really uncoordinated. So yeah, it didn't work out well.
So you had your growth spurt when you were young?
I never had a growth spurt.
Oh, you were...
I was 23 and a half inches long when I was born.
Oh.
My mom gave birth to a toddler, so I've just always been giant.
3 inches, wow.
Yeah, bless her. Natural birth. I don't know how.
Oh, wow, impressive.
Yeah, I just, the woman, let me tell you.
And then on your first birthday, you went to 6'1"?
Yeah, exactly. No, I've always been off the charts. So I remember when I was like 8, the doctors had said I wouldn't get past 5'9". Like I shouldn't get past 5'8" or 5'9". And then I went back at like when I was 11 or 12. He was like, well, eventually you're going to stop growing, I'm sure. So I was like, at that point, I was 5'10". When I was 16, I was 6 foot. By the time I was 17, I was 6'1". And I just stayed at 6'1" from 17 on. So I've just always been giant. I remember winning, like I would win a poetry contest at school in like 4th grade. And they had everybody lined up on the steps based on their grade. And so they put the youngest at the top, right? Because they're the shortest usually. And then it's staggered down so you could see everybody. Well, I go and stand with my grade and they made me come all the way down to the front because they couldn't get me in the picture when they tried to take the picture of the winners. So they made me stand all the way down in the front. I had to stand down by the teachers because that was the only way to get me in the photo.
Oh my.
And so I was mercilessly teased for being gigantic. It was hilarious.
Were the people in the front row, did they have to sit down or kneel or something so that they'd fit? Oh, okay.
No, because they were doing it on a stage that had the steps. And so you had like the shortest people were on the top step. So everybody just kind of stepped down and it looked like everyone was kind of staggered really well. And then you had me like off to the side.
Gotcha.
At the very bottom. And
so you were one of the instructors.
Essentially, yeah. I got asked a lot. Like when I was 12, I got asked if I was going to the bar with somebody. And the guy wasn't picking up on the fact that I was 12. And so he was like, hey, you gonna come to the bar with us? And I was like, are you trying to be a felon? And he was like, I don't understand your humor. And I was like, you see that little girl over there? And he's like, yeah, she's adorable. I was like, we're in the same grade. And he was like, stay at school, don't do drugs. And then he ran away and I never talked to him again. So that's been my experience. Everybody thinks that everybody used to think I was a lot older than I was. So I remember being 21 and finally being able to buy liquor, and I was all excited. And I went and I bought sherry because I needed it for cooking. And I was waiting for this guy to card me, and the guy goes to ring it up, and he legit looked me in the eye and he says, "I'm not going to bother carding you. I know that you're over 21." And I was like, "By 6 hours." And he went, "Oh shit, really?" And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" I was like, "Isn't it illegal if they look under 26?" And he goes, so you just turned 21. I was like, "How old did you think I was?" And he goes, "I'm really 29. I was like, wow, that hurt my soul. Like, okay, cool. Holy shit. Everybody thinks that I'm so old. And then when I hit 26, it kind of stagnated, and everybody's been like, "Yeah, you look like you're like 26, 27, 28." And like, that's what I've been getting for the past couple of years. And I was like, "Oh, keep this coming. This is wonderful." Like, since I was 12, people thought that I was in my 20s. So like, I'm good now. You just keep this going for a while, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, I think I was like in my early 30s when I went on a family vacation to Vegas. And anytime we went to a bar, I would get carded. I was like, wow, that's
Dude, I don't get carded. The only time I get carded is when people go, "By law, I have to," and I'm like, "Thanks." Like, really making me feel great about myself.
So the Red Valkyrie channel, it's always been a collaborative effort.
Yes.
With Cyborg.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, the Red Valkyrie channel used to be Cyborg's like old YouTube channel that they never did anything with. Like they had like 50 followers and no videos. And when we started talking, so Red Valkyrie initially was a marketing firm type thing that we were doing. So we were offering promo packages where we would go and
oh, hold on, sorry.
Hi, Mom.
I'm sorry, you were saying it was a marketing firm?
Yeah, so we used to do stuff where we would do like custom crafted tweets and stuff like that for projects that were coming out. We would go, like, we offered going on YouTube channels to kind of help hype and things like that, and just kind of found more creative ways to try and bolster up people so that they weren't paying money for some of these other marketing firms that are like, "Oh yeah, we have, over 1 million followers, but of that 1 million followers, like 500,000 of them are bots. Another like 300,000 of them don't give a flying fuck about indie comics or comics in general. They're not even geeks. And what you're really actually marketing towards that is like your audience is like 500 or less of people that actually care about this stuff." And so we said, well, we went through my follow list, like my follower list and size follower list, and we cross compared, and we were like, well, we have over 1,500 unique people at the time that are into like indie comics, are into this scene, and do want to be a part of all of this. And so when we're marketing towards like your actual audience. And we had some people that got a little bit upset about that felt that we shouldn't be taking money for something like that, which is fine. That's their opinion. But it got really, really toxic very, very quickly. And so we said, okay, well, I'm not down for arguing with people online about the merits of something that has been around literally forever. Like ever since there has been products to sell, there have been people to market those products. Right. But apparently what we were doing was kind of controversial, and people felt that we should offer it all for free. So it's
I mean, isn't that literally what Google AdWords is based off of, and Facebook ads? And
so the problem is that because it's the indie scene, they felt that indie creators should just be looking out for indie creators, which I do, and I'm more than happy to do. But after the giant controversy and everybody got upset about it, Shae and I sat down and we talked, and we were like, look, we're not trying to be controversial. We're not trying to ruffle feathers. I'm not trying to piss people off. I'm just trying to highlight good projects that I think are interesting, that I think that people will like.
Yeah.
And if everyone's going to be upset because this is how we went about it, then let's change it. So we decided, screw it. We were going to do a YouTube channel together, and we were going to highlight comics that we felt were good. And it was the same thing when we were marketing people. If somebody came to us with a shitty comic and said, I want you to market us, we would look it over and say, I'm sorry, we can't help you. Because I can't market something that I don't believe in. If I think that what you're giving me is not up to snuff, it's not up to a certain quality or caliber, I can't effectively market you. My integrity won't let me do it. On top of, what am I going to say? Like, hey, look at this comic, and then like throw a link in there like that. It's not going to be effective. So we always kind of took that stance where if we don't believe in your project, it doesn't come on our channel. If we don't believe in your project, we weren't taking anything for, like we wouldn't take your money. We wouldn't market towards you, because I'm not going to be disingenuous. Like I said, people being sincere is really important to me, and it's really important to Shae.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Red Valkyrie was born after everybody got upset about us trying to do marketing, and we said, well, screw it, then we will just build our own platform and we will market our own way. We'll do it, where if somebody wants to pay us, they can be a patron, they can do super chats, and eventually, hopefully, we'll get enough viewers and enough people caring and thinking that it's awesome that we can get monetized, and maybe Shae can quit one of her 5,000 jobs and just focus on this and the military. And so that's kind of the end goal. But really, we do it because it's fun.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
And if it stops being fun, we'll stop doing it. But I don't see that happening. I really enjoy it. Shae really enjoys it. We like being able to help small creators. I love when I bring somebody on and people in my chat say, oh my gosh, I've never heard of this book. I love it even more when people in the chat say, hey, I'm backer number whatever. I love seeing that, because it means that even if, you can go on bigger channels, you can get, hundreds of people to back you off of those channels. And that's phenomenal and amazing. And hopefully one day we get there. But if you come on my channel and I can even get you one backer, that's one backer you didn't have before.
Totally.
And we've had a lot of people who didn't back stuff because they didn't understand the project. But because we do such a deep dive, a lot of other programs on YouTube, they focus on having a bunch of different guests, because it's easier to keep a show going when you have a lot of people that you can talk to. So if one of them ends up kind of dull, or if somebody's having an off day, you can go through and have somebody to kind of back up. You know what I mean? We don't do that. It's one project per Red Valkyrie Presents episode.
Yep.
And even I've had creators that have had multiple projects, and it's like, cool, I will have you on different times, but we can briefly talk about some of your other projects, but I want to talk about this one project. Yeah. And that's what we're going to focus on. And then if you want to be like, by the way, I also have this and this, like, okay, cool, we can throw that in there. But we really kind of deep dive into what these projects are, what the motivation was, what the story is, why you should back it. And so far, I think it's been pretty successful. A lot of people seem to really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's a good format. I think it works really well. In fact, it was your channel that it was. Indina says, I'm just here for the glossy giant redhead.
Thanks, Indina.
Man, now I feel left out. I need a red wig.
Oh, I wish we should have got you one before we started.
Yeah, they were even twinsies.
Oh, it's okay. Next time.
That's a real good format in my opinion, because it gives you more time with the creator, and that you can like dig into what motivated them to make this decision and that decision.
Exactly. Well, and there's a lot of people that didn't back certain projects because based on the way the campaign page was, maybe the person who built the campaign page didn't take into consideration how something came across, or they didn't realize that that was not done super well. And I've project managed for a couple different things. I'm really good at marketing and advertising and merchandising. And so, and Shae is an editor and a writer. And so we've combed through campaigns and given hundreds of people advice on how to better manage, how to better format, how to, be more impactful and stuff. And we do it live too when we have somebody on. And if we see like a little issue or something, we might highlight it. If it's a way, like if the creator says, oh yeah, well the problem was X, Y, and Z, then I'll give them a solution live on how to fix that. And
All right.
I think it's important for not only for them so they can do better on their campaign, but for people who are watching so they don't make the same mistakes when they launch their campaigns. They can see, okay, this is a better way to do it. And my DMs are open. So if anybody I have people that DM me and say, hey, here's my pre-launch page. What do you think? And I'll come back and say, okay, well, paragraph 3, this is jacked up. This looks wrong. This isn't quite right. I think this is too cheap. Have you taken into account how much shipping is going to be? And I'll just pick apart their campaign page with the intent of trying to make it stronger. So when they launch, it's a more professional product and they're more likely to hit their goal.
Yeah, sure.
But that's something that's really, Shae and I are both really passionate about. And we've done a lot of work for a lot of people behind the scenes. And so if I can make it public and help people that way, then that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I'm hoping that you can get properly compensated for doing the things on the backside, because one thing that a lot of people do is try and take advantage of knowledgeable people, and
yes,
they don't value their experience, their background. And it's like in IT. I've been in IT 17 years, and I've got experience on 5-6 different call tracking programs. I'm dual platform, Windows and Mac. And you get all these offers from companies, and they want to pay you diddly squat like you're just right out of high school.
Yeah.
And it's not only discouraging, but it's kind of offensive.
Yeah. So the way that I kind of explain it is like, you're not going to have an idea, like as a writer, you're not going to have an idea for a comic, go to an artist and say, well, you should do this out of the goodness of your heart to help me with my indie project. Like, people can look at, okay, they're producing art, that should be compensated. They're producing colors, that should be compensated. They wrote the script, that should be compensated. When it comes to the back end of things, the administrative side, it's harder for people to understand why that should be compensated, because they're like, but I could do that. And it's like, okay, but can you? Because it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of organization. There's a lot of people who don't have that capacity to sit and like, let me, delve into, this is everything that you need to do in order to make this page look professional. There's a lot of people that don't have that skill. There's a lot of people that don't have that time. And so having somebody as a consultant to go through and help with all that stuff, that is something that in any other industry you would pay for. Mm-hmm. But because we're indie and because so many people do it for free, to some extent, it's seen as, but why should I have to pay for it? I had people who said, nobody needs a project manager. And I was like, just because you don't need one, or because you think you don't need one, doesn't mean that everybody can do it the same way. There's people that have 2 or 3 jobs that are, staying up and sacrificing sleep to create their comic. Project managing is difficult. There's a lot that goes into it. Trying to make sure that you're paying attention to algorithms, best times to post, making sure that there's, 2 or 3 posts every day that are different enough and engaging enough that people don't feel like you're just shilling at them 24/7, making sure that you're going on the right channels at the right times, at the right points in your campaign. You're offering the right kinds of stretch goals. You're paying attention to what people are requesting and what they want, what they like, what they don't like, and you're adapting to it. That takes a lot of time. When I was doing this, I was taking 10 plus hours out of my week to try and help manage two different campaigns. And that was on top of both my jobs. That was, waking up at 5 a.m. to go over stuff with Shae from 5 to 6, and, Shae sacrificing sleep because Shae was 3 hours ahead of me. or behind me. And so Sai's getting up at, 2 a.m. and we're sitting down and saying, okay, this is the plan for the day. This is like based on my schedule. This is when I can post. This is when you can post. So this is how we're going to do this today. And deconflicting to make sure we're not posting the same stuff. We're not hitting people with the same images. We're showing a variety of things. It took a lot of coordination. And personally, that's something that I would value somebody doing for me and that I would want to compensate them for. But I understand in this indie mindset for a lot of people, that's something that is difficult to wrap your mind around.
Yeah.
Because you have so many people who throw links out there constantly. And it's, well, if you have a good enough product, people will promote it for you, which isn't true. It's both. And I understand people not seeing the value in it. I don't understand people shitting on people who do see the value in it and who want to pay for something like that because they feel like it's making their lives easier. But at the end of the day, it was just easier to say, screw it, we'll make our own platform and we'll do it our way. And if I have the time and I like your project enough, then I will take the time to try and help you out. And, people have shown gratitude in a variety of ways. I've had a lot of people that have sent me sketches and art and thank you notes and things like that. And, yeah, it's not the same as money that I can use to go pay my bills, but it at least shows gratitude. And, if we can get to monetization, then that helps a lot with that, because then I can keep doing this and I don't have to go and do my cleaning job that I hate, or these other things that kind of suck away my soul. Like I can spend time where I want it, and I can spend time making cosplays better, doing better marketing with my cosplays, because it's a unique way to market for a lot of these indie books where, hey, do you like how this looks? You should go check out the book, kind of thing. And it's a different way to kind of do that. So I would love to do this a lot more frequently than I'm able to right now. And the easiest way for that is to hit monetization, because then I am compensating for the stuff that I have to spend my time to go and pay my bills now. So
right, exactly. So the feedback you give creators, it actually happens during the stream you have them on, right? It's not.
Yeah. It'll happen during, if it's something that they didn't highlight and that the chat hasn't highlighted, it usually happens backstage, because I don't want to call people out and make them feel like I'm shitting on their campaign or putting them on the spot, but I also want to make sure that they are catching the things that might be losing them money. Because it's not always apparent. And when you're doing everything, you're creating your campaign page and you're trying to make sure your tiers are right, and you're making sure that you added everything right, you're getting all your art together and your story together. It's a lot to keep track of. You're going to have oversight, and a lot of these people don't have somebody that they can trust, that they ping stuff off of, to make sure that they haven't missed anything. Or the people that they have to ping it off of are people who've been up for just as many hours as they have while they created it. Right. And if you've been staring at the same page for 13 hours, it doesn't matter if you have 30 people staring at that same page for 13 hours. Y'all are tired. You're gonna start missing shit.
Oh yeah. It helps to have a second or third set of eyes on a project. That's why editors are so crucial. The whole indie scene reminds me of like open source software. You've got a open source license to freely write programming updates to enhance the product, but in the end you're not always getting compensated where you otherwise would in a traditional setting. And then also like the wedding photography industry, people complain about how expensive it is for wedding photographers and videographers, and they don't factor in the cost of all the equipment they use, the software that they use to do touch-ups, the fact that they're putting together this beautiful, clean package, and the time spent catching the scene from different angles and stuff.
Well, and I think that people don't seem to realize when it comes to a lot of this stuff, it isn't necessarily just about what you do the day of. Like what you're paying for is you're paying for somebody who has spent how many years honing their craft. How many years have they spent making sure that they know what the right camera angles and the right lighting is, and so they can catch that moment perfectly for you. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for somebody who is experienced, as opposed to somebody who has a camera that can point and shoot. And people don't seem to realize that. People seem to think it's the same thing when you're a videographer, or like I do video production. I used to as a hobby. People don't understand that it takes years of understanding, this is how I crop something right, this is how I make sure I've got this right shot, this is what I can fix in post and what I can't fix in post, to give you a really professional looking product. And that's what you're paying for. Because yeah, you could find somebody to do it cheaper, absolutely. Your cousin Ed could probably take every picture for the entirety of your wedding on his smartphone. But if you want those really impactful images, and that's what matters to you to remember that day, you're going to have to pay for somebody who understands how to make you look your absolute best, make your significant other, your family look the best that they can, know the best places, like, oh my gosh, if we took a picture over here by this tree, it's going to totally change the entire environment, and it's going to give you that feel that you want.
Yeah.
That's what you're paying for, somebody who has the experience.
Yeah. The eye of formatting, layout, design. And like one of the things I love taking photos.
Yeah.
I grew up in 35 millimeter black and white. And then I still, with my iPhone, take loads and loads of pictures. But for the life of me, I still have trouble suggesting to my subjects how to pose, how to stand, how, to make it look like an appealing photo. And that's just a skill you acquire from practice and, studies.
Exactly. And so somebody with your skill set that is really good at environmental shoots, but maybe not as good with people, is going to be priced differently if somebody wants to hire you for a people-centered atmosphere, as opposed to somebody who is very, very good at how to pose people and I just need you to tilt your head up and to the left 1/4 of an inch, and that's going to completely change how your throat and your neck and everything look. And instead of you looking like a bullfrog, you're going to look like the slender goddess that you are, or whatever the hell it is. Understanding how light works and understanding how the human anatomy works, and what's pleasing and what isn't, and what's going to give the right kind of look, that takes a lot of practice. That takes a lot of trial and error. That takes a lot of study and research. And because those things are things that people don't see outright.
Yeah.
They're things that people, like when somebody produces art, you can tell somebody like me, who is a total amateur, who has a basic understanding of what shapes are supposed to look like, but is sketchy as fuck, and it isn't even remotely realistic, versus somebody like Rob Willis, who is the, Hatch King God, who's going to make everything insanely detailed. Muscles are going to look like rippling muscles. Things are going to look three-dimensional. You put the two of us together and you go, well, obviously you would pay more for Rob than you would for Shae, because it's clear. It's clear cut and it's on paper. But when it comes to things like management, that isn't as clear, because people just think it's a level playing field. And if you're a good manager, you catch all of this shit. And so you just, either you're a good manager or you're a shyster. There's one of two ways. They don't understand. There's still levels. There's still people who have more experience on, merchandising than maybe they do advertising, and vice versa. And trying to find somebody who's well-rounded means that they're probably not super, super high level in any of these areas, but they're very good at a base level, and they have a good, like, global kind of experience. And so you have to look at what you need for your project and what is lacking. And then that's where you're supposed to find those skill sets, and they come at a premium because it takes years to develop that skill.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, there was this thing where my stepdad was also into photography for years, and he would do lots of landscapes, but he also did some like portraits and things like that. And he was talking about how when you're taking pictures, like prom pictures, if you have the female just turn her foot, rotate it, it makes such a difference in the finished product.
It really does. Well, and I really appreciate good photographers, because somebody like me, I'm very tall, I'm broad shouldered. I'm not a petite little girl. Like I don't, if you put me with other women, I look like a fucking drag queen half the time. Like I look like a dude. Because they're small and petite and little, and then I'm giant and hulking behind them. So depending on angle and body position and stuff really depends on how you end up coming across. I have a picture of me with two other women who are about 5 feet ish, and it was taken in Germany. The Alps are in the background, and they said this would be hilarious if you sat down and we stood behind you, because of how big you are, us standing behind you, like it's going to really highlight that. So I sat down on the ground cross-legged. They stood behind me. I looked like I was photoshopped into this thing and sized up. It didn't look real. And it's simply because I was being taken head on. I was sat, and so everything went down and wider because my legs were crossed. So now I'm broader than I would normally be. And then they stood behind me, but they stood turned 45 degrees. They knelt down just a little bit, and they are already a lot smaller than me as far as like everything about them. They're skinnier, they're more petite. So when you did it in that way, I looked like I had descended from the Alps to be with the village people, and they looked like they were average sized people. Like it looked ridiculous. It looked like a photoshopped image, and it absolutely wasn't. It was just based on forcing perspective.
And those were decisions made by the photographer?
Yeah, so we were joking about how funny it would be, and so when I sat down and everything, he was like, "No, ladies, I need you guys to turn," because when they turned, it highlighted it all the more. They're not front on, so if they're front on, it makes them wider. But if you turn, all of a sudden you're smaller. So they turned, so they were smaller, and I was front on, so I was wider. And so it just made me like, the guy took pictures and then laughed, like he busted out laughing, and he went,
"Gosh,
it looks great." And like the people behind him saw what was happening, because you can see it even if it's not through a lens, as long as you're at the right angle. So they were behind, and they were like, holy shit, that picture is going to be amazing. Like that is a perfect way to pose if you're trying to make her look like she's like a gigantic being. And that's exactly what it looked like. When we got the picture, we all busted into tears laughing, because it was just so perfect. And it absolutely looked like it was a doctored image, and it wasn't. It's forced perspective. But having a photographer that understands that is what made that picture gold, as opposed to, why is this giant girl sitting on the ground and then these other girls are just standing by her?
Right.
You know?
Bristolian Dave said, and I know I'm behind you in responding to all these, Shae. So thanks for interacting with chat.
Yeah.
It's a great service you offer, as there are a lot of good books that don't get funded because they don't pay attention to the promotion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of people that think the promoting is just spamming your link everywhere. And there's people who can tell you that absolutely does not work. And not only does it not work, it's actually really damaging to your brand and your platform. And Ben Fuselier and I have talked about this extensively. When he first did Outlaw Nights, he made a mistake, and he every day, like 3 to 5 times a day, posted a link saying go check out Outlaw Nights, and he just spammed it for 60 days. And that first time through, he didn't get funded. We gave him some suggestions. He got suggestions from a bunch of other people, and he went to relaunch. The problem is because he had spammed so much on his first campaign, he had a slew of people that had him muted, because they got sick of seeing it over and over and over again. And so when he went to go and launch his second campaign, he ran into a very similar issue, even though now he was marketing much better and he was showing how good his project was and that it should get funded. He had already alienated such a large amount of his base, because he had spammed so much that a lot of them had muted him. And he was actually hitting a point where he was like, I'm really concerned I'm going to have to nuke my Twitter and start over if this doesn't hit funding. And then, you know, people were bringing him on and like, no, I understand. And like, we were addressing it. We were like, I understand the first time you went through, you spammed links. And he was like, yeah, I wasn't paying attention to what actual marketing was. And I just kind of threw it all out there. And he's like, and I pissed a lot of people off. And I'm really sorry for that. I didn't mean to. I'm dedicated to this book and I really want it to do well. And people started to see Ben is a really good guy and he's got a good product. He just had a misstep when it came to promotion. And thankfully he hit funding. So now he doesn't have to nuke his Twitter.
Yeah.
And now we can get Outlaw Nights and we can get, you know, a good book that is just visceral and ridiculous. But those little missteps can have really big ramifications if they're bad enough or if people remember them enough. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, having somebody that has that skill set, it's really, really helpful.
Oh yeah, invaluable. A couple of the challenges I see with a lot of campaigns is, one, sometimes people put way too many tiers, and it like, I love Billy Tucci's work and everything, but the Shae project,
so many tiers,
confused the hell out of me. And I literally spent like 30 to 45 minutes just trying to decipher which tier I wanted to back. And I knew I wanted to back it, I just didn't know. I was having trouble making rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
And
because there's so many options. And I think something that people need to pay attention to is there is such a thing as offering too much.
Yeah.
Because you gotta think, if you think of it from a consumer standpoint, when you go to the store, right? So think of going to like the cookie aisle, right? There's like an endless supply of cookies that you could get, right? So let's say that you go to a cookie aisle and you go, I know I want chocolate chip. Okay. How many different chocolate chip cookies are there? There are so many. So how many times do you sit there and you just go, I don't know. Like, do I want soft or do I want crunchy? Do I want cheap chocolate? Do I want expensive? Do I want to pay premium? Do I want, you know, bargain? Like what? And you get inundated with it. And then you start thinking, do I really need this? Is this like, recently I put on some weight. Maybe I don't need cookies. And how many times do you end up talking yourself out of it? Because there's just so many choices there that you can't decide. And you start thinking of the cost, you start thinking of the negative aspects because the positive aspects are just too overwhelming.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and another thing about some campaigns is I don't like, they'll have an intro video, but at least for me, I can't get the gist of it. I can't understand what the story is in a nutshell. You know, like the elevator pitch, they say, always have an elevator pitch. So if you got stuck in an elevator with a highly influential person and you had to promote your project in 60 seconds or even a couple minutes, you need to convey the most important aspects of your project and, you know, get down to brass tacks.
Well, and there's two sides to that. You have to have multiple levels of pitches. So you should have an elevator pitch, which is going to be 30 to 60 seconds of what is your book? Why should I care? Right? If you can't do that in 30 to 60 seconds, half of the channels that you go on, you don't get, like on my channel, you generally get probably about an hour to talk about your project. On many other channels, you probably get about 5 minutes. So if you have 5 minutes total, and that's with people asking questions, you need to convey in the first 30 to 60 seconds what your project is and why people should care. Otherwise, you're wasting an opportunity. But on top of that, so when you go on channels like mine, if all you do is give me a 30-second pitch, we're going to be hard pressed to hit 30 minutes talking about your project. So you also need to be able to expand on aspects of it and expand on aspects in a way that is entertaining. Make sure that, you know, hey, this is about a little girl's struggle with depression and whether she can find hope at the end. That would be a quick pitch of what Fate is. When I go more into it, it's a graphical representation of what depression feels like for people who are having difficulty understanding exactly what that might be, as well as a way for people who are going through depression to understand that they're not alone. And it's a way to show it through a person that you can be wholly sympathetic to. And so people can disarm a little bit from their preconceived notions about depression as a state of mind that you're choosing to remain in, and see it more for, this is something that is difficult to get through. Being able to expand on things like that and, talk a little bit about, this is how I'm going to visually represent it. These are examples that are kind of striking and, interesting plot points. That all of that is what ends up giving you a better product in the end and makes people more excited about it. But if all you've got is, it's a book about a 9-year-old who's depressed, like, everyone's gonna be like, why the fuck would I want to read that? That sounds terrible. I'll be like, yeah, it does. It sounds really terrible. Like, it just, let's be real. Like, who wants to, you read comics for escapism. Who the hell wants to pick up a comic to be depressed? Right. But then if I'm able to go into, this is why it's created, and this isn't a comic to be like, hey, here's a superhero for you, and you go on an adventure with them. This is, hey, I'm dealing with an important topic to me, and this is something that I think is important, that I want to highlight. It changes the expectation, and I'm going to be honest, I don't expect it to do well. I really don't. I think it's important, but I don't think that it's going to be popular because it's uncomfortable.
Right.
But I'm okay with that.
Right. What was I going to say? Oh, Bristolian
Sorry,
Day. No, it's all good. Like I said, my stream is constantly.
I mean, we've been going for 2 hours, so hey,
it's
talked a lot.
It's constantly filled with my tangents. Outlaw Nights is a great looking book. Spoke to Ben on Rutten's channel. You got funding a couple of days ago. Yep. That was very cool.
Yeah, I was very happy to see that.
Yeah, and Dina says have a full stomach before shopping for groceries. Yeah.
Always. Oh my gosh. Always.
I don't usually think about that before I go shopping, so that's probably.
I normally go shopping because I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm hungry, and then I look and I was like, oh, I don't have food. I'll just go grocery shopping. I was like, no, that's not how you do that. It's totally backwards. That's how you end up buying all of the things.
Yeah, I'm really into warehouse stores like Costco and Sam's Club.
Yeah.
So if I am hungry, I'll try and hit them during the lunch or dinner rush when they are offering free samples, and I'll try and do 2 or 3 sweeps of the floor to fill myself up with assorted things that don't necessarily go together.
Oh gosh, that's hilarious. One thing we haven't talked at all about, which was the thing that we said we were going to talk about for the entirety of this show, was merchandising.
Oh yeah.
We haven't talked about it even a little bit.
Real quick though, along the same vein of the what we discussed about, not understanding what the story or what the book was about that they're promoting. Yeah, that kind of throws me off, and sometimes it's what keeps me on the fence. And I don't, either it's my own lack of understanding, or to some degree it might be the way they advertise their product.
Yeah.
Set up their campaign. And it wasn't until your stream, like in the case of skits, I'm not trying to knock them or anything, but it looked like a really cool, surreal project, but something wasn't clicking in my head, and I couldn't figure out whether to back it or not. And it was your more deeper dive into it that
Yeah.
Got me to move forward and back it.
Yeah, and that's the goal, is to try and take all of these, because like I said, a lot of these channels only do elevator pitches, and so that's all that you're getting. And it's really hard to understand, especially when you have a comic like Skits, which is doing such a different approach to things, where they've got 3 covers, but all 3 covers have a different focus in the story. So each cover is telling a different part of the same story. And you're getting different influences and different perspectives. And so essentially you're getting 3 different stories altogether that are just one cohesive line.
Yep.
That is something that hasn't really been done in indie comics and in CG. And so having somebody try to pitch that quickly is very confusing, which is why when they came on our show, it was like, all right, we're going to talk about this. What is this?
Yeah.
Explain this in detail. And they kind of got to get into it, and you get to see the excitement and the passion, and you get to see where their mind is and get kind of a feel for how this is probably going to go. And then it turns into, okay, that's actually badass, and I really do want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So that's I'm really happy to hear that we're succeeding in that vein, because that's exactly what we were trying to do, is make sure that people understand.
Yeah. It's definitely important, and it's very helpful. That's something I strive to do in my channel. I'm still working out kinks, trying to keep things interesting and stuff.
Yeah.
So, hopefully this is a quick tangent, but I might have asked you before, but are you like a kind of a semi-pro cosplayer?
No, not at all. Not in the least.
So it's kind of like a for fun side job?
Yeah, it's
or a hobby.
So all of it's definitely a hobby. All the cosplay stuff that I do, like I follow a couple of really cool cosplayers, and I pay attention to how they do stuff. I'm a crafty person. I've always liked doing this kind of stuff, and I love taking a character and kind of bringing it to life. So everything that I do is out of pocket. It's I just recently got like a whole bunch of foam. I got this really cool stuff, which is modeling foam. So it's like clay, and you can mold it and do whatever with it, and then let it dry. When it dries to Eva foam. So it's lightweight, and you can Dremel it, you can sand it, you can paint it, you can whatever. But I started getting some of this kind of stuff because I liked how it looked, and I was like, I might actually be able to do some cool things with this. I recently got like a heat gun.
Oh wow!
So I'm moving up in the cosplaying world, but I'm still very much an amateur. I am good at crafts. I've been doing crafts since I was probably like 3 or 4 with my mom.
Wow!
And
big times.
Yeah, so I'm used to sculpting. I'm used to sewing and things like that. So cool. I've been having fun with it.
Yeah, I don't know if you were aware, but that hat you just displayed earlier,
yes.
The one with the bones on it.
Yes.
Let's see. As soon as I got wind and saw that stream where you were discussing it, I ended up snatching that up as soon as I saw it.
Yeah, I remember. I've got two little rings to put on it, and then it'll be ready to ship out. I added in the stitching and stuff like that was missing when I did the stream. But yeah, it's signed. It's signed with glitter gold and everything. So it's the only one in existence. I don't see me making another one of those.
Yeah, I love when you do cosplays. Like Little Umbrella Girl was really cute.
Yeah, that was really fun, and Lug loved it. She was adorable. She's like, "Is she a fan?" and Tug was like, "She's dressed as you." And she's like, "So she's a big fan." It's like, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
for sure. Oh man, and in that stream when they did story time, that was adorable.
Yes. Oh, I loved it. And she's so animated. Lug is adorable. She
Yeah.
decided, I don't remember which stream it was, but she popped into a room when we had Tug on, and it was a whole bunch of people with their icons and then me. Because the only time I ever do an icon is like literally if I feel like I'm gonna die or if I have to run and go corral my dog, I'll put my icon up. But otherwise it's me on screen just because I'm a people person. I like to look at people. I think it's more entertaining. And I talk a lot with my hands. So it's really hard to get points across when you can't see me sometimes.
Yeah.
She came into the room and she goes over to tell you, she goes, "Who's that?" And he goes, "Oh, that's Shae." She goes, "She's my best friend." And I was like, "Done. Okay. Yep." Like you heard it. Lug said we're best friends. We're best friends now. Like I'm not going to deny an adorable small child who says that we're best friends. I'm just like, okay, cool. And I thought it was a joke. Like I thought it was like, 6-year-olds, they say shit like that all the time. They don't remember. And so I didn't expect her to remember. Well, I was talking to Tug a couple months later and we were just kind of talking like whatever BSing. And Lug comes in, she goes, "Oh, look, it's my best friend." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm actually your best friend. Like, that's so cool." So, yeah, so Lug and I are cool. We're pretty tight.
Yeah.
As tight as she could be with a 6-year-old, I guess.
Your homies.
Yeah. She's hilarious. Like, I've never seen a 6-year-old that loves horror as much as this little girl. She's so
yeah,
funny.
that cracked me up.
She's
That cracked me up.
funny.
So the first time she saw you online, you weren't dressed as Lug at the time, right? You were just
No, I was just me.
yourself. All right.
I was just me, and she decided that we were best friends.
Oh wow, what a trip! Lucky.
I know. I will take it. I will take it. She's adorable.
Yeah, that's a fact. So, what does merchandising mean to you?
Okay, so because I'm a total swag whore. Like I love t-shirts, patches, pins, lanyards, like interesting things. I really, really love having those kinds of things, especially if I can wear the items. I'm 1,000% down. So when I started looking at Red Valkyrie, I kind of looked at how we do our channel, and our channel is all about building up indie creators, right? So with us being all about building up indie creators, I wanted to find a way to do that same kind of thing with our merchandise, because I didn't want it to be we're just I didn't want it to be like us just trying to, push like our logo or whatever, which is something that Sai and I kind of developed. Like I wanted us to have really, really cool merch. So what I did, and I'm about to share screen so you can see.
Sweet.
Where is it? There it is. Nope. There it is. Okay. I swear I can do this. So what we did is we took our logo, because it's classic and it's kind of like the OG, and we put it up on stuff. But then I turned around and I said, we're all about supporting indie creators. So what I would really like to do is do shirts that had really cool art on the front, and then on the back, in between the shoulder blades, had our logo. And so I reached out to a couple different indie creators, and obviously, like not being monetized, not being a company yet, and not having any income coming from this, and already having multiple jobs, I can't just commission a whole bunch of artists to make me art, especially because I want to pay artists what they're worth. And I know that that's going to be hitting like 80, 100 plus a pop. And I just don't have that kind of money that I can throw around right now. So what we did is we reached out to a couple different artists and commissioned them to do their versions of me and Sai. All of my stuff is back when I was a zombie, when I was zombie Shae, Shae zombie, whatever. And now I'm Shae the Red, because it's more fitting with the Valkyrie and the Viking kind of aspect. And it's it's more fitting for me and my personality. So I'm actually working with artists to kind of have it tweaked, and this will become like the OG 2019 run of stuff, and then we'll have our 2020, which will be me as a Viking and some new cyborg stuff for Cyborg Valkyrie. But basically, I commissioned people to do their versions of Sai and of me, and I do one bit of merchandise that's all Sai, one bit of merchandise that's all me, and then a bit that is both of us. And all of this is to highlight all of these different artists and their interpretations. So I love when you give somebody something and you say like, "Hey, I want you to draw this." And you say it to 4 different artists and you get 4 drastically different pieces of art. And I love that. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
The other thing that I love about what we're doing is anything that sells, we split the profit 50-50 with the artist. I round up because I don't like dealing with change, and I round up in favor of the artist. So these are people who, you know, really wanted to kind of be a part of this. Like, this is narwhals, and it has a very the way that they turned out side by side. It has that I can't remember what it's that mom and pa like farmer, the pitchfork thing. Like, it looks so much like that. It just kills me. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, that is true.
And then we have like, this is Bogdan, who did a really cool, like, he made me as a zombie hand turkey. Because that's perfectly on brand, and I love his version of Cyborg that is just really kind of hyper feminine and kind of creepy and a little bit vampire-y. But so we've got,
which version was it that did
this
that?
is Bogdan. So if you look at the bottom, it'll say like Sai by Bogdan, Shae by Bogdan, Sai and Shae by Bogdan. And in the descriptions of all of these, it has their Twitter, so you can follow them yourself. So but we went and tried to get a couple different people. This is, you know, Inkspots did a really cool gnarly version of Sai that I really love. But this is our way of trying to help showcase various artists and kind of the cool shit that they do, and get them a little bit of passive income, because once they do this, it just kind of sits here, people buy it, and, you know, whenever somebody buys something, I message them and say, okay, I need whatever your PayPal is so I can split it with you. But it's been really cool. We've sold a couple of things, not a ton, but, you know, we're also not monetized. I also can't put in my YouTube channel my merch store and stuff. So a lot of people, unless you're going to scroll through the links, you're not going to know that a lot of this exists. And we're also looking at switching from Teespring, just because I'm not a fan of some of the print quality that has come from them. When it comes to like their t-shirts and stuff, some of it has come a little bit gray, some of it doesn't, and I don't like the inconsistency. And if I'm going to put something out there that's going to represent indie creators and what they can do, I want to represent them as best as I possibly can.
Sure.
But yeah, so this is kind of our merch store. I like doing stuff that is unique. I like doing stuff that isn't standard. Just because I feel like there's, you know, I could go and have like one person draw me in, you know, skimpy clothes or whatever, and, you know, doing silly things and whatnot, and that's all well and good, but I think that this is kind of a cooler way to do it on brand. And I like clothing and wearables and stuff that you can wear that people don't have to know necessarily like what Red Valkyrie is. They can see, you know, this really gnarly t-shirt right here from Ink that is this really like freaky cyborg look, and be like, wow, that's really badass.
Oh, all right.
And then, you know, on the back of it, you see our logo, and it's like, well, now I'm curious, what's Red Valkyrie? So, you know, is it like a band? Is that whatever? And it can spark a conversation.
Yeah.
But you could also just wear that. You just wear that out, and it's not going to seem weird or seem like you're, you know, pushing for. I hate when they do like if you do like a Power Rangers shirt and you have like the Power Rangers and then below it says Power Rangers, and it's like thanks, obviously, you know. So I wanted to make sure that we didn't do that. That we kept things looking like cool and not smacking
Sure.
the head.
Yeah, it reminds me of when that comment you made. It reminds me of when I was a kid and for Halloween, almost most Halloweens I dressed as Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Because he was like my favorite character of all time, and every year I dressed as him. I never felt I did him justice. But one of my earliest costumes was that very kind of thing where you got a picture of him and then it has his name on underneath it.
Yeah.
It's like, what the? So it was funny.
Hey, give me just a quick second. I've got my dog is losing her mind. I'll be right back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk with yourself, I guess.
I had to close my door because I got too much outdoor noise going on.
Yeah. All right. I'll be right back. One second.
Right. Chair stream. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when it comes for you? Yeah, that's true. That's true, Dave. Temporarily, I'm back. Now we're just waiting on Shae. Got my tiny mini M&Ms. We got a chair stream on Shae's end. Hail chat. Post any questions you have in the chat, please. I'll read your message, Dave, upon Shae's return. Boom, empty. Whoa, I missed. I did not score 2 points. I did not even get close to a rim shot. La da 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 tia, la da tia tia, la tia tia tia. Hello. Welcome back. Uh-oh.
There we go. Sorry. Okay.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Bristolian Dave says some things look really cheap when you add the name of it all over the picture on a shirt.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that. I always, when I look at merchandising, the reason that I'm really good at it is because I look at it from the perspective of the consumer. I know it makes me want to buy stuff. Like my Flash shirt, right? It's nice and kind of beat up and everything, but it's still obviously the Flash, but it doesn't say Flash. Like it's just the Flash. Like I very much like it, but like especially when it comes to when it comes to like things, especially for women, like leggings. Oh my gosh, some of the worst designs I've ever seen have been really shitty leggings. I saw a pair of leggings that somebody had designed where literally there was one color and then it had a lotus flower.
Okay.
The lotus flower was in the crotch.
Oh.
That was it. That was the only thing that was on the entirety of the leggings was one lotus flower in the crotch.
Okay.
And people think that it's funny or cute. When I look at it from like a consumer perspective, I'm never buying that.
Yeah.
Like I would never wear it. What's the point?
Right. Exactly.
And so I try to make that I like, that I would wear, that I think is cool,
Yep.
and I hope other people like it and want to also wear it too. And and we'll see how it goes. Thank you. I've had people that have tried to buy my chair off of me before.
Dave asks, any advice for someone who wants to start a YouTube channel?
Yeah. Okay. This is my second go around for a YouTube channel. So I had a YouTube channel probably about 10, 11 years ago. The biggest thing that I can tell anyone who wants to start is make sure that whatever you do, you have fun doing. Because if you do something because you're trying to get clicks, you do something because you're trying to get views, you do something because you think that it's going to shoot you off into stardom, you're going to be very, very upset, because not only is it not going to play out the way that you want it to, you're going to be stuck as that person. And it gets really, really old really fast when you're playing a persona that you don't like or agree with. The opposite side of that is if you really enjoy what you're doing and you do it for the fun of it, that really comes through, and people tend to be a lot more loyal to someone who's genuine. So yeah, you might get monetized and shoot up to stardom very quickly if all you do is focus on drama, or if you focus on like hot women and things like that. There's a good chance that you could end up getting monetized very, very quickly. And some people do that, and if that's what they like, then that's fine. But if you want to have a fan base and you want to have an audience that actually enjoys what you do and that engages and that you can have a meaningful kind of conversation with back and forth, being genuine to what it is that you're doing is one of the best ways to do it, because when you're having fun, they have fun, and you get people that ask good questions and people that engage. The people that I have that come to Red Valkyrie Presents and to Writing Pros, it's usually the same couple of people, and they are they're very active, and they pay attention and they engage, and we all have a good time. And they're also very dedicated. They seem to come to most of the shows and they watch most of them. Even if they can't catch them live, they'll catch replays, and all of that helps. But it takes a long time. It does. We've been doing this since November. I know people who got monetized way shorter than we have, but they went on tactics that eventually wear thin and people get sick of. Whereas we decided, fuck it, we're going to do what makes us happy and what we enjoy. And if we get monetized doing it, then awesome. And if we don't, then okay.
Excuse me.
You're fine.
Oops. Let me see something real quick. Periscope. I don't know if you, excuse me, I don't know if you broadcast to Periscope at all, but if it detects anything that remotely sounds like it could be spam related,
yeah,
they'll either block your message that you're trying to broadcast to it, its stream, or in my case, like about a week ago, well, no, actually it was probably only 3 or 4 days ago, they actually went and flat out suspended my account until I reauthorized myself.
Yeah.
So until then, I got, excuse me, I had nothing but messages. Let's see. Yeah, it was filtering messages, not sharing everything that I posted in the chat. Yeah. Out of curiosity, first of all, where did Zombie Shae come from, and then why did you ultimately change to Red Valkyrie? Because I think didn't Red Valkyrie precede Shae Zombie?
Yes. So Zombie Shae, the whole persona of that, and me taking on the zombie persona. There's two reasons. Well, three. There's three reasons. So I have the handle at Gaslight, but gas is in like a spooky ghost. And I absolutely loved it because I like horror, I like macabre, I like dark. Um, the zombie aspect of it came in because of a friend who I help manage, who his handle is I am Essie Tonks. He's a very very talented artist and colorist and writer. Like he's a one man shop, and his company is Zombie Pudding. Um, so I love it. It's hilarious. Zombiepudding.com is his portfolio. It's a little lacking right now, but he's also currently going to school for his MBA. So he's doing stuff as he can. Um, but zombiepudding.com is it's a fun little site. I helped him build it. We kind of came up with a name and everything together. And so while I was promoting him, I was Shae Zombie. Um, I always use green hearts because green zombie, it all kind of goes together. Um, the change from Shae Zombie to Shae the Red is because um, we've kind of slowed down a little bit on his stuff. And while I'm still helping manage and I'm still helping do what I can to boost him up, um, I wanted something that was going to be a little bit more focused towards my own brand. And a zombie with me having Red Valkyrie and a Viking in the background, like it got real confusing to a lot of people because I'm meshing too much shit together. And so I decided, while I refuse to give up the name Gaslight because it's fucking amazing and I love it. I did want to change my screen name to Shae the Red so I could go more of a Viking kind of persona with a lot of the art and the stuff in my channel. And it also ties better to Red Valkyrie because Shae the Red and Cyborg Valkyrie, Red Valkyrie, it pieces together a lot better. It also goes real
Yeah.
better with that banner. So I wanted to do something to kind of highlight it and make my Twitter more focused on our brand as opposed to me being focused on somebody else's.
Cool. Very cool. And so, do I understand correctly that with your merch shop, you're going to
Switch over.
switch over, but also still sell the zombie related merch?
Oh, I'm absolutely keeping the zombie stuff because it was awesome and I really enjoyed it. And it's a way for artists who dedicated time and effort and energy uh, into our brand and into our show and everything to still get something out of it. And they're badass. Like they did really really good work. So I don't want to throw that away um, and just start over completely. I think that it's great. I think that it's kind of cool to offer it as like a seasons thing. And so this would just be the the initial run of Red Valkyrie merch has me as Shae Zombie. The next run will have me as Shae the Red. After that, I don't know, Cyborg might change. Um, who knows? But the thing that we kind of wanted to do was we liked the idea of melding these two worlds together, and I wanted something that was more obvious me. Um, because I'm way closer to like a Viking and a Valkyrie than I am a zombie, like
Okay.
IRL. And so I thought that would be kind of fun, and I love the merch that we have. I don't want to get rid of it, so I would instead rather just make that like last year's stuff, and now we have this year's stuff, kind of thing.
If it's not too personal, and feel free to decline the comment if you like. But if you're not monetized, well, you're getting Patreon donations, I imagine. But
No, we have one patron, and that just happened.
oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
How do you afford to commission all these cool artists to work with you on this merch?
It's making the deal. So I don't demand anything from them. If they want to be a part of it, they can. If they don't, that's totally fine. No ill will whatsoever. And the offer up is, as long as that merch is up on our store, anything that sells with their images on it will be a 50-50 profit split. So I may not be monetized now. These people did this in their spare time out of the goodness of their heart because they like me, they like our channel, they like what we do. They like Shae, and they wanted to help be a part of it.
Yeah.
But as far as compensation, I won't profit without them being compensated as well from this merch, because I don't think that that's sincere. I think that it's shady.
Yeah.
And I when I pose it to them, I bring this up right away. I say, look, I can't afford to pay you, so if you need to tell me to go pound dirt, that's totally fine. I won't be upset. I won't begrudge you. I completely understand. And if you have paying commissions, please put that before this. This is not that important. I still have probably about another 10 people who really wanted to do stuff, but have books and commissions. And I'm like, dude, do the stuff that directly pays you. Do that shit first, because this stuff isn't going to pay instantly. This stuff probably isn't going to pay until we hit monetization and people realize that we even have it. So feel free, please do anything that's paying you instantly. This offer is still going to stand, and if you want to send me whatever and I'll put it up, I'm more than happy to do that. Because I think that it helps further you as an artist. It furthers us as a brand. And I think it's really cool. But I always split it 50-50, and it always rounds up in favor to the artist, because I don't like dealing with cents. Like, I don't like change.
Right.
So I'd rather just be like, well, you take all of this, and then whatever's left of my PayPal is what's left of my PayPal.
And I wanted to thank you so very much, Shae, for joining me again.
Absolutely.
You're freaking awesome. I love having you on, and I hope to have many more in the future. Would you take a moment and tell everyone how they can reach you and find you on the interwebs?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter at Gaslight. Instagram, I believe, is just Shae Zombie. I've only got like 7 pictures, so. But I plan on posting more of the cosplay stuff up on there, and so you guys can actually see what cosplays I've done, and we can try and help promote on Instagram for some of those projects, because I mean, why not? It's a new platform. And then, yeah, obviously, sub to Red Valkyrie. We are very, very close to getting to monetization. We are 134 or something like that. Yeah, 134 subs away, 1,153 watch hours, and that keeps climbing and getting better and better every day. So I very much appreciate everybody who subs to us, everybody who comes in and hangs out with my little channel, and Shae does too. Shae's currently out of the country. We'll be back in the fall, but
all right.
Shae and I are eternally grateful for everybody who comes and hangs out with us. We really enjoy it. We want to keep doing this for as long as we possibly can. So
awesome. Well, I was going to ask, if she's out of the country, are you guys like still doing a couple streams together where she just dials in from her phone or something?
No, so where she is, she doesn't have any reception. She doesn't have any internet. So Shae's MIA until the fall. But yeah, it's I'm just trying to keep the channel going and hopefully grow it. And I would love to be monetized before Shae gets back. And so when Shae comes back,
that would be so cool.
Well, because I got these jackets Shae doesn't know about that are, I actually have it right here. I'm working on, I went and got our channel logo. Oh, sorry about that. I got our channel logo done up as a giant patch. So
Oh, nice.
it's super badass. I'm gonna get our names on the back of them, and then all of these indie projects, like you got the Merry Boys patch and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that. I've ordered extra from all of the
Yeah.
creators, and
Ooh,
we're covering us in patches, so it's gonna be kind of like a military war biker kind of jacket. It'll
nice.
just be covered in indie projects.
Oh, that's gonna be so cool. Yeah, I'm loving the patches and stuff and on these projects.
Yeah,
Uh,
I have a great patch guy, and he can make that same patch that I have on the back. That one's 15 inches, so it's massive.
wow.
But he said that he can make it down with that same amount of detail, probably at 5. And so one of the things I wanted to do when we get enough money through whatever means, whether it's me doing side work and whatever we get monetized with Patreon, whatever it is, I want to take that and I want to go and get like 200 of those patches and then offer them up for sale.
Nice.
So if other people want to rep Red Valkyrie, I also want to do the same thing for the writing pros. It's the red and blue quills.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, there you go. That's cool.
I like I said, I'm pretty good at marketing and merchandising, and so I really like our logos. I think that our Red Valkyrie one, it's busy as fuck, but I love it. And then our writing pros is a lot more streamlined, but I think that it's a really good one. And
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty awesome. Everybody, sub to her,
yes, please.
support the channel. Definitely sub. Mark the bell for notifications so you get alerted whenever they do a stream. It's a freaking cool channel. Support them. Definitely worth it. Worth your
Thank you.
time. Uh, you can find me on Twitter at WyzGyz Tweets, on Twitch under WyzGyz Twitches, and under YouTube under WyzGyz Entertainment. Thanks so very much, everyone, for joining us. Glad you had fun. I had a blast. She, she's the bomb diggity. Uh,
Thank you.
she's all that in a bag of chips. So we are going to close this out and keep up the great work, Shae.
I
And
will
we
try.
are going to end the broadcast in 3.